Okay, welcome back to let me do our introduction again. This is going to be Tier 3 of Week 4 of the United Emu Directorate versus Too Fact, Too Furious. That is going to be KyonEXE versus RabbitRoo, magicbullet versus Jarcino, Phoenix 2470 versus RDN_user, and Vint versus JtotheT. Also Zmaan versus Quirky. I said end on the fourth one, and we have 5 matches today. Let's see. So we are going to hop right into it. I think our game music is like insanely low. So we're going to go ahead and hop into our first match of the day. Which is going to be RabbitRoo versus KyonEXE. Let me go ahead and do our character introductions real quick. RabbitRoo in the top right corner playing as the pink Protoss, and KyonEXE in the top left corner playing as the slate gray Terran. Now let me just maybe move the mic away a little bit again. Okay, we are moving that away, and we have a Twitch emote named unit. We have a unit named Ayaya. And we have it. So those will be our first 2 starting workers. Additionally, someone redeemed playing in the original graphics, and I am committed to these bits as soon as I can figure out how to do that. There we go. I'm committed to the bits there, to the jokes. And then also, we're going to be rhyming a lot. Or at least trying to. Because my existence is pain. I'm gonna have to figure out how to relate everything. Play a guest. Alright, we're switched back. Thank you to whoever did that. So our eyes do not burn out of our fucking sockets here. I need the bicarbot before I can cast it. Because set up chat and then just turn the overlay off. That's true. Let me. We're very professional. Very professional. There you go, chat. That way they can't. I could get character to post the replays. We'd have to have him stream as well, but. Now, CPL staff can't get mad at me for interacting with the chat because the chat is on screen. We did it. Alright, we have an SCV scouting. This SCV will be our Twitch emote Vihoyo. And this probe will be our JoJo's Pillarman. Yeah. Need a magnet. Oh my gosh. There you go. That should be better. God, I just realized I do not know how to rhyme. That was a wasted 2,600 channel points because I am realizing now it is actually difficult to try to come up with StarCraft related rhymes, especially trying to do it in real time. We have 2-Gate Goon coming from RabbitRoo with an N. And Kyon, as we can see, has taken 2 SCVs off gas so that an expansion can come to pass. Machine shop started. That means siege tanks. I'm not gonna say that one. Awesome. I'm gonna go ahead and... I was thinking of I guess a bit more graphic variation on that, but... Alright. SCV scouting denied. He is going to... run back home and hide. We have the bunker in place. I actually, the sound effects is actually a bit low now. Who's winning? Okay. Let's up that. There we go. Zerg is winning. No, we have, I think honestly it's probably favoring Kyon, just because they have their expansion pretty safely secure. RabbitRoo went 2 gates before Nexus. And that generally means that you aren't going to be... you're trying to either be defensive or like you're either trying to defend or rush or trying to be really aggressive to kill your opponent. Are you okay? What? Okay. But the Terran is just doing a siege expand, and so RabbitRoo took sort of all this effort. Actually, they're taking it really fast. They might be in the lead now. Once that finishes, since Terran won't really be able to be aggressive, so they are going to poke at these Dragoons. And, yeah. Dada's saying something in the chat, and I'm not sure what that is about. I think I'm okay, but... Alright. Vultures are out on the map. Getting vision and taking no crap. It's just like it took like 20 seconds to get your sentence. Listen, sometimes my brain doesn't work extremely well, and we take our time, you know? When you're in the early game of some of these, you have to really stretch out your sentences just so that like you know, you're filling the dead space. I'm neither I do not know enough about this game to explain. Okay, we can also do trivia to fill out this early game. Okay, trivia time. Since we are kind of at an equilibrium here, both players just getting their expansions out, Protoss taking their third, and they're kind of getting away with taking this third. It was taken about 30 seconds earlier than Protoss should be taking their third, so that's pretty good. Let me see, what is a good trivia? Protoss is totally winning. Okay, what is the... We'll do an easy one here. It's the first game of the day. What is Dragoon Range? What is the actual, like, name of the upgrade there? Vulture is going to scout the third base. That probe, hero, actually. And love your cast, love Steve has been awesome so far. I have lost all my games, but still. Thank you, Tech. AJ Poo. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly. Lightstorm with the singularity charges in chat. That is indeed the name of the Dragoon range upgrade. But also, thank you for thanking me. CPL has been great. As a reminder, wow, also Kyon's getting very good like vision on the map. Great mine placements here, just kind of peppering them all over. You love to see it for the Terran. You hate to see it as a Protoss because it means that you can't ever move out without observers. But, so really good play here. But if you're enjoying a lot of CPL, I would highly encourage you to check out the Ko-fi links or the donation links for the CPL in their Discord. Obviously, just playing, having a good time, spreading the word, watching all of the CPL streams, not just mine. It really helps sort of pump those numbers up, and helps get the word out that, hey, StarCraft is a pretty cool game. And it just really helps the staff put together this league, and helps them like improve it each season, because it's actually amazing how much better. Like, every season is great, which is, so it is like a really insane statement to say that every season is like way better than the last, just in terms of like how many players we get, or how smooth it runs, or like this season we have the web app, which honestly is just frankly amazing in terms of how much easier it has made all of the back end stuff. Even just being able to pull up the website and see what 3 maps are being played in the week is so much easier than having to spam in general, like what maps. So yeah, the staff has been doing an amazing job with CPL, and it really is like all on them with how great this league has gone, and and also to everyone playing. True heroes. The dropship heading towards the Protoss main. 4 vultures lopped in there, and then nothing back at home. Jesus, this is one of my main bases. Yeah, so 4 vultures. So this is just always a super punishing thing to do in the lower tiers, because Protoss never remembers to get Jesus Christ, 4 3 4 4. So like 16 probes killed. RabbitRoo instead is just going Protoss man A move into the main. The Zealot Conga line is getting stuck behind the 4 Dragoons that really want to like fight. And these usually are bad engagements, but I think RabbitRoo actually has the army to take this. This is insane. This should never happen. What is going on? Well, I guess RabbitRoo, it does have so many gateways. It doesn't look like they really have any other tech, so this is just pure gateway manning up into the main. What? This is such a wild, like, occurrence. Because that was just every siege tank was here. They were all sieged. The Protoss didn't even attack in all that well. Like, most of their zealots were bunched up behind dragoons, and they just moved in, and Kyon dies. That's crazy. Okay, RabbitRoo had 16 probes left, right? All of their probes in the natural died. All the probes in the main died. But they had, let's see the count. This is actually an insane amount of gateways for this stage of the game. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 gateways off of like kind of 3 mining bases at 12 minutes. Yeah, that's really good. Sometimes macro wins games, and only the non-macroing player is to blame. Okay, that counts as enough of a rhyme so that I don't have to refund those channel points. Let's go, game 2. RabbitRoo versus KyonEXE, this time on Eclipse 1.2. 1.1 and 1.0 were terrible, but this is the version that we're gonna be watching forever. God damn it, Light Swarm. All right. We're just going to be rhyming some more now. Let's switch the stream over to our in-game chat. I told you I had 9K channel points to gamble. I need to actually start doing I think like the CPL really needs to set up like the or actually I'm sure other CPL channels have to have it set up already, but yeah, we need to set up the like the betting system for these CPL matches. And in the top right corner we have KyonEXE for 2 Fact, 2 Furious, and in the bottom left we have RabbitRoo for the United Emu Directorate. Yeah, so now it is time for another PVT. What these players will do, we'll need to wait and see. Supply depot being set up under Kyon's main, and the probe is going to scout on pylon. That generally means that they're going to be trying to go for the gas steel. Name a unit. Yes. So that is going to be our gas stealing probe here. And he's actually just yelling that. You know, it's probes are robots, right? So they speak in text-to-speech. And so all these Kyon's SCVs, they're just mining, they're doing their jobs, and in the distance they hear, ooh, arar, ooh, arar. Dude, that SCV was in position to take the refinery as well. But the probe stole it and told them to go to hell. Yeah, so just this probe running around, just imagine that TTS constantly going. Ooh, arar. In a few moments, depending on how long it stays here, it might start yelling Mario Erotica at them. 3 SCVs now, working to take down that Vespine Geyser, and that is some serious DPS. SCVs are one of the best workers in the game. But the probe... See, one of the most BM things you can do is leave the probe up here to take the gas right away again as soon as the SCVs kill it. But, you know, it looks like that isn't going to happen. It looks like that, okay, it was not going to happen. But back at home, RabbitRoo does not have a gas of their own. They are instead getting 2 gateways. And KyonEXE, without a scout, is going to pay. I'll count it. That's a fine rhyme. Yep. So 2 gates from the Zealot. We do not have our anti-Zealot wall. So you know, it's... Is it... What's... I'm pretty sure actually Nablime does have a rhyme for the barracks supply depot thing. Oh, he's actually doing barracks expand. The worst possible outcome. The scouting SCV did die here somewhere, but... yeah, so this command center is going to have to be canceled. There's just no way. Yeah, so double cancel on the SCVs from Kyon. And, you know, supply depot is next to barracks. Oh wait, no, that does actually work. That's actually, okay, that's good. That's fine. Supply depot by barracks, the Zealots will perish. Now, the Marines just have to get out, dodge around. Really great micro here from Kyon, but again, they get the first Zealot, but there's 2 more on the way. Behind this, RabbitRoo isn't actually committing to the fully to the gateways. They're getting their cybernetics core, they're getting their assimilator, and this is going to end with Dragoons up in the main. And it looks like the Marine micro has run its course. 2 Marines, 3 Marines die as more Zealots filter in to toss Kyon's hopes of winning this series into the bin. Great play from our players, but unfortunately with the cybernetics core up, the gas flowing. The Dragoons, it is only a matter of time for the Dragoons to be towing. I don't, yeah, something that rhymes with flowing. Yeah, that looks like it's gonna be it. Usually, now I might also be wrong about this, but it is my understanding that Kyon is super new to the game. They kind of were put into tier 2 almost on accident. You can see they're floating a lot of minerals here, but yeah, for one, even Artosis loses like this. You see that in basically all of his games. But also, Kyon is super new to the game. They kind of got put in tier 2 just because they haven't played in CPL at all before. And Kyon, like, I think I played Kyon in week 3 or week 2, and they were like, I've only been playing for a couple of months. And honestly, I might be wrong about this. I might be thinking of a different player, but regardless, whoever I am thinking about, that's very impressive to like come into this tier 2. This is tier 3, right? True, it is. Never mind. I'm dumb as shit. Maybe he got demoted, or maybe I'm thinking of someone else. But in anyways, that is going to be Kyon taking 0-2, RabbitRoo taking 2-0 over KyonEXE for the United Emu Directorate, getting first blood of today's series, today's cast. Look, I never claimed to be a good caster. And our next match, our second, I'll forget everything. I'm gonna be real honest with you all. I don't remember what we talked about yesterday. Like, if you were like, hey man, remember that game from yesterday that was like really good? I would just be like, the only thing I remember is that carriers tried the base trade, siege tanks. That's the only part of yesterday I remember. But our next game is gonna be magicbullet versus Jarcino in another PVT. And we're gonna see how that goes. So let's go ahead and switch our stream back over and then log in to this replay to catch up with magicbullet. And nope, do not open Steam. Yep, so in the top left corner, as the dark blue Terran, we have magicbullet, representing, why did you do this, computer, representing one of our, computer, stop, okay, I think we're good. We have magicbullet, on, I believe they are on 2 Fact 2 Furious. I probably should pay attention to my own splash screen. But on the opposite, on the top right, we have Jarcino in the light pink Protoss colors, representing, I think, the United Emu Directorate. Pylon goes down on 8. Supply depot goes down on 9. We are going to be looking at a very simple cast. Nothing crazy. Anti-zealot wall positioning set up. First gateway and then scout, followed by an assimilator on 11. We should see the barracks start here fairly soon. Yep. So we are looking at standard PED versus TED action here. And, yeah, so it's going to be cross scout from Jarcino first, just to make sure their opponent isn't outside of, like, a rush distance. While magicbullet is, probably just going to be scouting to the right. It looks like a second probe scout is... I guess he's going to be placing his second pylon in his natural. It's a bit interesting. Not sure what that probe is doing out there, but the probe checks the main, sees that the gas isn't building, and is going to be moving to the right. The probe does see the SCV come to scout. Zealot will clean it up. And there is no gas mining and no cybernetics core on the way. So this is definitely going to be an extremely fast Nexus. The probe is hiding from the SCV. And honestly, the SCV, like, scouting this, you see they're not mining gas. Like, what are you thinking, right? Like, it has to be either gateways out on the map. And it looks like the SCV is actually going to scout the center to make sure that the gateway count isn't going to fool them. But with it is just a Nexus first, so I guess the SCV, he'll get the scout once he comes back. But it looks like Magic Bullet is just setting up to, Zealot in the main. Magic Bullet is setting up to just do a factory expand with only one SCV on gas. But this Zealot is, ooh, that's a really good, damn, that is an expert marine juke. The SCV is going to see the Nexus building and then the Cybernetics core, so they will be able to know that the tech for Jarcino is extremely far behind. The one kill. Oh, okay. That Zealot gets 2 Marines, so he has technically paid for himself. And if he's able to get 1, oh my gosh, that SCV has 4 life left. It is a trooper, a hero, and that Zealot the Zealot just paid for itself there in terms of combat, but it did not actually like get net bonus value, you know, because SCVs have an insane amount of HP. But the Nexus is done, and Magic Bullet is actually going to be committing more to the expand than for any aggression, and that is absolutely going to play into Jarcino's hands. Once this Dragoon pops, this SCV will get destroyed, but also Jarcino is going to be able to take a huge worker lead, building 2 probes at a time until Magic Bullet's expansion is out. So Jarcino took a risk, and Magic Bullet did not call them on it. Yep, and there is the dead SCV from the Dragoon. I think the SCV did not see the second gateway, although I don't think that really factors into any numbers here, but yeah, I think Jarcino's just going to keep macroing up, keep pushing their probe advantage. They're currently 5 ahead. Robo has started. Back at home, Magic Bullet is preparing all of their tech. They have a armory, an academy, an extra factory going up, while Jarcino is just playing really standard, really safe, getting their pylon wall and their Dragoons defending the front to make sure that they don't lose their probe advantage to 3 Vultures. Dragoons are going to start moving out to put pressure on the natural. Looks like we're going to stabilize with Jarcino having about a 3 to 4 worker lead here. Dragoon pokes, sees the bunker and the siege tank brought up, and is actually going to suicide into the main just to get the scout off. That was an interesting move. I think it would have been better to head up into the main, since one Dragoon is not going to get much more damage done, and the information on what your opponent is doing is extremely helpful. But also, the observers are almost on the way, so like you just didn't need to do that at all. You know, it's one Dragoon. It won't be the end of the world. Behind this, Jarcino adding on extra gateways. The observatory is just about to finish. Happy with the who's winning. Right now, I'd say it's very much tied. It could go to either player. I'm tending to think that Magic Bullet might be ahead, just because the game is basically even, and Magic Bullet's macro is looking very solid. But again, Jarcino getting out their 3rd base here, so that is going to be extremely useful for them. They're taking it at 7 minutes. So if you want to know just how fast our Protoss in the last match took their expansion on Midnight, their third Nexus was a whole minute earlier than Jarcino's. But we have 2 Vultures heading out on the map to scout around, make sure there's nothing cheeky, nothing sneaky going on. Spider Mine, Siege Mode on the way. Wow, I did not realize Siege Mode had not been finished yet. That's actually very important. 4 missile turrets going up all over the map. Well, I say all over the map, but it's 1 in the main and 3 in the natural to defend from any cheeky, any shuttles, anything like that. And Jarcino is going to move out with 5 Dragoons. This is really important. So these Dragoons, they aren't going to try to put any actual pressure on the Terran. What their purpose is to kind of just make sure that there's no spider mines between the Protoss and the Terran base. And eventually, once these Vultures start laying mines all over the map, they are going to, this pack of Vultures is probably going to be on like minesweeper duty. So we can see the spider mine built. The Dragoons kind of get a lucky shot to take them out, and the Observer is just going to keep an eye on the front of the Terran base, as it is going to try to fly in and angle itself into the Terran main. But with the missile turrets going up, the Observer will get killed before it can really get any real scouting information. So it sees 1 factory, and that doesn't really tell them anything. Vulture's going to start trying to put pressure on the 3rd base here, but it will get killed, and just barely on the high ground, and that'll let it live long enough to take out the Dragoon shields, but not much more than that. I love to see the spider mines buried at each expansion base. Also on the ramp there is nice. Just because this will prevent the probe from being able, like a probe sneaking out and throwing down a Nexus here for free on its own. So that's really good play there. Scan coming up from magicbullet just to check on the status of Jarcino's tech. He only sees 3 gateways, He sees 3 gateways, he sees the Citadel, and he sees a couple of extra gateways added on right there at the end. So he can know that he's not quite into Templar tech. Yeah, magicbullet is just playing really well. They're getting their tech up extremely cleanly. So we have their armory, the science facility, etc. on the way. Nice little clump of tanks there to defend the base. There is Jarcino's big probe transfer out. And yeah, Jarcino, again, also for when we talk about differences between the games, we're about at the same place we were last game in terms of when our Protoss got their gateways. And we have a total of 7 gateways versus the 14. That's unfortunate. The probe actually has to, don't have to cancel it again, but they actually cancel the Templar archives and rebuild it to free the trap probe. Honestly, I think leaving the probe trap might be worth it, just because of the, you don't really get all the resources back from the archives. Yeah, Jarcino playing really well here, keeping his Dragoons out on the map to really prevent any, sneaky Vultures from running around laying mines down. This is great setup for late game, basically, when you're moving your huge Protoss army around and you can't be waiting for the Observers to be at the front to pick off, because your Zealots will be in front of your Dragoons, so you won't be able to pick off the spider mines as you're moving those big late game armies around. So this stage of the game, making sure that you have these Dragoons roaming, these Observers checking for mines, it is really important for setting up that late game army movement. And so we're going to see this probe is actually going to run down to try to take this 4th base, and magicbullet has actually left the Vulture there specifically to catch the probe, because this is the Protoss's natural 4th. So that's a really good play there by magicbullet. Whether they intended to do that or not, it works out for them either way. 2 Dragoons are going to have to be sent down to rectify that. But meanwhile, we have these Vultures, and you see they're going to start laying mines out in the middle of the map between the 2 bases. And that is a huge field of mines. These Dragoons are going to clear that Vulture, and they'll also need to clear the spider mine. We could see a it does die. The probe does not get caught up in it, but again, Yeah, this is just really good buffering here. It's going to make it really hard for Jarcino to actually try to fight up into this area. It's already rough fighting up a ramp, but now like this entire right flank has been neutralized because of the spider mines. And now that Magic Bullet has moved to siege tanks up, he has fully secured this area. So his the Dragoons can't clear this spider mine field without being completely taken out by these siege tanks. And now like Jarcino is just gonna have to play keep away and let Magic Bullet do what they want in terms of moving out. Also with the Zealot Bomb on a siege tank, but with the Goliaths out, the shuttle dies extremely quickly. Scans are out, science vessels are out, so the observers are going to be much more careful. But Jarcino is getting their 4th base up. Magic Bullet is still only on 2 bases. One of the Protoss moves you can do when your opponent is playing carefully and passively is just take as many bases as possible and overwhelm them with an economic advantage. So a bit of an engagement here. The Zealots are going to get on top of this outer layer of siege tanks, but the siege modes ones in the back are going to be able to supply enough covering fire that Jarcino is taking a worse and worse engagement, especially as these Zealots are going to be cleaned up. Jarcino's probably going to have to fully just move out and leave this area because the Magic Bullet's army at 2-1 is going to be too beefy for Jarcino's weaker Protoss force. Back at home, Jarcino has gone up to 9 gateways. So again, at 14 minutes and 4 bases, a lot more gateways. You can see Jarcino is floating a lot of minerals, and they also aren't maxing out, but they do have 10 gateway units producing at a time, and so it really is just a factor of they do not have enough gateways. Since they've secured the bottom right base, this could be their ticket into spending all their money, since they can just build a bunch more down here, transfer all their probes, but it looks like they might not have enough time as Magic Bullet is just going to start pushing across the map, heading over to Jarcino's main. These Dragoons are going to try to take out some of these outlying tanks, and they are going to get them. This is a really nice pickoff for the Protoss, really limiting the total number of army that Magic Bullet has access to. Really great spider mines here, again limiting the Protoss movement, taking out a lot of units for free. And then we have this core siege tank force here defending the entrance of the Terran main. Now here's the massive Zealot flood, and depending on the spider mine drags, we could be seeing that was probably not as good for the Protoss as they would have liked, but now they do have the money to keep reinforcing their army. The spider mine fields are dwindling, and Jarcino is just moving out with the barest amount of forces. It seems like Magic Bullet might in fact be in a Terran A-move mode as opposed to the Protoss Monkey A-move mode. Yeah, again, it really is just the lack of gateways. Jarcino is macroing, they are producing all of their units that they possibly can at a time. It's just that they don't have enough infrastructure to support that constant production. This is a really deep dive from Magic Bullet. Definitely this is a bad idea. Jarcino's army, these Zealots can come up and they have an amazing flank on the siege tanks here. But with the reinforcing vultures from Magic Bullet, if these Zealots don't get activated, Jarcino won't be able to defend this. And it looks like, yeah, they're going to come in and you're going to be able to start the fight, but it's just too late. The vultures are already here to pick off the siege tank. The vultures are already here to pick off the Zealots, and the Zealots will get absolutely shredded by them. See, if those Zealots had just moved up 10 seconds earlier, this entire army, all of these siege tanks would be dead, and these 4 Dragoons could have protected all of Jarcino's bases. But it looks like with just a little bit of a miscalculation on what Jarcino needed to do when to move his units, Magic Bullet is going to be able to just keep reinforcing this position and hold the Protoss natural. Another round of Zealots coming out, but the reinforcing Vultures are going to be able to clean through them easily, lay down Spider Mines to kill the next round. And this really is like the unfortunate case of Jarcino's been on 10 gateways. They've been floating over 2k minerals for the past 5 minutes. If they were just able to remax, this would have been an insanely easy cleanup. And if they had been able to like pull their forces to the fight sooner, it would have also been an insanely easy cleanup. Magic Bullet sort of noticed a timing where they were able to push. I think if Magic Bullet didn't attack there, they would have lost. Jarcino was about to have a 4th base with or a 2nd main with all of the room for extra gateways that comes with that. And that is going to be that was a great timing for Magic Bullet to take that win. Now we're going to load up into our next game. It's going to be on Eclipse 1.2. Once again, Magic Bullet versus Jarcino. Magic Bullet is playing for 2 Fact 2 Furious. Okay, so I was right in game 1. Let's go ahead and load it up. Keep it going. And see what our players have in store for us on Eclipse. In the top right corner, playing as the mustard yellow Protoss, we have Jarcino. And in the bottom left, as the once again this is the light blue Terran, we have Magic Bullet. Eclipse is a very funky map. We could see a 5-minute game, or we could see a 50-minute game. It honestly is one of the best maps in the game right now. Rickardu says, when does CPL 9 come out? So CPL 9 is going to be a few weeks away. We still have, I think, 5 more weeks of the regular season, and then we have 3 weeks to do the finals matches, so the quarterfinals, the semifinals, and the finals itself. But if you are not, we're at week 5 of 10 right now. If you are not currently signed up for the CPL, there is I'm sure you can find a link to the Discord chat somewhere if you Google it, and you can join the waiting list to be put on a team. You can join a waiting list to be put on a team for this season, and spoilers, we always need players because people have to drop because of life circumstances, because they kind of want to take a break from the game, and so we are kind of always in need of more players for teams, because all of a sudden it's like, oh, we only have 1 Terran in our team's entire tier 2. Dada tried to post a link in the chat, but I will I'll post a link once this game is over if someone reminds me. Mappy says they're on the waiting list, but they haven't been joined yet. I just would want to say keep holding. How dare you? It's not me, it's Twitch, okay? It's to protect us from random spam bots who are like, don't you want to buy Twitch Primes and gold followers and Discord Nitro? I escalate. But I think like the join the waiting list. If you Google StarCraft Brood War Coach-Pupil League, you'll probably find a post on the StarCraft subreddit or the Brood War subreddit, and you can follow that link there. And there's a website. Like, ask around, and people will point you in the right direction. Meanwhile, this probe is having the time of its life, and it soon will be dead. He did his best. He got the scouting information. He sees there's only 1 SCV on gas, which this probe is still alive. He sees there's only 1 SCV on gas, so Magic Bullet will be going for a macro build. But there's also an SCV in the main. Jarcino going for looks like fairly standard Dragoon opening here. Yeah. Just because CPL 8 is still fully underway does not mean that you've lost your chance to participate. The waiting list is open. It has no limit to how many people are on it, but yeah. And then if players drop, you'll be on the list. Also, Dada, if you ban me from the CPL, I'm gonna make my own CPL, a better one with blackjack and hookers. Magic Bullet getting their command center on the high ground, which is pretty smart since Jarcino does have Dragoons all the way across the map. But we have the machine shop, so as soon as the siege tank comes out, it is going to siege up here, and then like Protoss just can't do anything, and Magic Bullet gets their expansion for free. The replays I have will self-destruct in your face. Ha! Joke's on you, Dada. I'm running Linux. My computer my operating system self-destructs itself every couple months anyways. Your threats mean nothing to me. Because I know enough about computers to have it installed. I don't know enough to not break it. First Marine to die is Dada. Oh jeez. So we have Jesus. That was quick, Dada. I'm sorry. That Marine, you did your best, okay? Trying to fight the Protoss men. Oh Jesus, this is actually terrible. Yeah, Magic Bullet should have waited for siege mode, and they instead are gonna lose the game now. That's really bad. There's enough room for the Dragoons to actually get up on the high ground to bust the supply depots. That's crazy. Jeez, that command center's so close to burning. Okay, yeah, but the Dragoons are going. Oh, jeez, getting Dragoons up a ramp truly the hardest. Oh my God. Okay, so I guess it's not game over because Jarcino's Dragoons are they're unique, and they just don't, like all Dragoons, they do not know how ramps work. It's an arcane, it's a mystery. But behind this, Jarcino very smartly is getting their third because they realize that the Terran, like, they can't put any pressure on, right? They don't even have their expansion, and so Jarcino will just be able to push their economic advantage, probe transfer down, and from that, Magic Bullet is, like, their entire plan has been delayed insanely. Now, once again, once the siege mode comes, Jarcino can't stop Terran from getting their expansion. And I think that really was the big mistake from Magic Bullet, is he didn't get his siege mode as soon as possible while doing the siege tank expand. And that is extremely weak to two gateways pumping Dragoons. On Jarcino's side of the map, we're getting into observers. Once again, we have that third nexus coming up. So Jarcino is absolutely getting into becoming an economic powerhouse in this game. We also have missile turrets going up in the Terran's main just to prevent any like drops from coming in. And, like, if you drop DTs, these will cover those. But then there is a big transfer to the third base with a 9 probe lead and with 3 Nexi pumping probes. It is just going to get worse for the Terran player. The move is finally going to happen, and it looks like Magic Bullet has enough to secure it against only 6 Dragoons outside of their natural. Yeah, no observers yet, so the Spider Mines will fully defend this area. Another siege mode goes down. Dada 2 bravely isn't quite dead yet, but as the observers move forward, yeah. So Jarcino, I think, just needs to play safe, keep putting the pressure on. There's the big transfer from Magic Bullet, but again, economically, it's just a little bit too late. Jarcino has a nearly 20 worker lead over their opponent, and that's not good, to say the least. I don't think there's any situation where your opponent has 20 more workers than you, and you can be okay with that. Back at home, Jarcino adds on a third gateway. We really need to see those extra gateways, though. They're falling into that same pitfall they fell into game 1, where they just aren't building the gateways to maintain their income, you know? So they're getting close to just constantly floating 1,000 minerals. Big vulture move out. The dragoons don't quite catch it. The arc wasn't fully created. And the vulture's like moving out. There is a pseudo wall coming up here with a single dragoon, but okay, well the vultures kind of will get spotted and caught by some of these dragoons. But the vultures will get spider mines laid down. Barely, they're going to take it out there. Engineering bay getting pelted as these vultures are going to go lay the spider mines on all the outlying bases. Yeah, like Jarcino is just in a really great position. But again, they were in a great position last game as well, and it really just was that they didn't macro well enough to maintain that position. Because having 40 extra supply is over your opponent is pretty good, but when the opponent's supply is siege tanks, it becomes a lot less good. Coming down, sees the number of gateway counts increase, so we're going to be going up to 9 gateways it looks like. And then he scans the third base, so he does see that Jarcino is a base ahead still. Again, 49 probes, 32 SCV, 17 worker difference. So yeah, we're going up to, it looks like 10 gateways. We just, it's that kind of thing where you just want to see more from the Protoss, especially once you are at 1700 minerals. You might have hit 17,000 minerals. I don't even think there's 17,000 minerals on the first 3 bases. Yeah, Magic Bullet's economy is finally kind of catching up in terms of like what they're able to produce. Terran has a lot of cheap units, so you can kind of get away with having slightly fewer workers. He's only on 2 bases, so he has like 2 fully saturated bases as opposed to the 3 that Jarcino has. But this Dragoon is going to move up, make sure that a 3rd base can't be snuck, and these Dragoons are probably going to try to secure the 4th and the 5th bases just to check for spider mines. Templar Archives on the way for our Protoss player, so we're finally getting up into that higher tech. Both players on +1/+0, but working towards +1/+1. Observer movement being upgraded by our Protoss player, which I like. Observer movement is a very nice, it's a very useful ability. Getting little fast observers just darting across the map makes your, really increases your scouting potential. Although a lot of, you generally probably want to get sight first, but he might already have sight. I don't know, where's observer? Actually, there's observer. This observer, holy crap. Look at the turrets. There's literally turrets everywhere, except right here. That's insane. What? Jarcino has, this is an insane, oh, Zealot drops on the tanks. Weren't quite close enough to the tank down here to siege mode. Actually, he might have just been selecting all of his siege tanks and spamming stop on them. But it looks like with no turrets on the outside ring here and only a couple of Goliaths coming in, he might keep trying to do the Zealot drops. Yeah, Jarcino is getting that macroing out plenty well, but again, they're still only on 10 gateways. So their bank is going to continue to climb. But again, they're doing a good job of keeping Magic Bullet contained this game. Like, and it is really hard to get out of the Eclipse Natural if your opponent is sitting out here. On good night, that little cliff offers you a lot of extra space to be able to move out and defend from there. But on really nice, they might be able to pick off that barracks there. But on Eclipse, because you have a low ground natural that leads out into like more low ground, it's really hard to kind of come out here and hold this position. Again, I'm shocked that this observer is still alive. He found like the perfect spot to put it. This one as well, and it's just like, because he's never gonna scan in here, right? Like, there's no reason to, because you have turrets everywhere. So obviously the Protoss isn't going to have observers in the main. Let's see where the scan goes down. Gonna go down in the main, 2 extra gateways being added on. We could see gateways being added up at the top here as well. Scans the 4th, does see the Nexus going down, and that really is probably going to be what triggers Magic Bullet to need to start moving out. Finally, the Science Vessel is going to come out, but again, this observer stays alive because he is just too good, too powerful to be detected by something as flimsy as a Terran Science Vessel. Yeah, so we can see the egg is dead, or the egg was shot. So yes, Magic Bullet is going to be trying to move out. Scans for an observer, doesn't even know. But again, Magic Bullet is going to try to move out because if Jarcino gets this 4th base up, while Magic Bullet stays on 2, it will be enough to choke the Terran out of this game. The main is drying up of resources, and it really is like a do or die situation for Magic Bullet in this moment. Wait, does he actually see the observer with the sign? Where's the Goliaths? No. The obs. Can we get a moment of silence for our wonderful observer friend who died in the line of duty after detecting so much. Unfortunately, also Magic Bullet is going to have to destroy a couple of supply depots in order to make it out of his own main. That is going to supply block them for a little bit. Hello, Suricata. Welcome to the stream. And Jarcino, they're maxed out. They have a huge bank, so it is going to be a lot of really, like, they can take a lot of bad trades. They also have High Templar, so Storm is up, and that is going to be the sort of the final piece of the Protoss puzzle in dealing with a Terran. Landing Zealots on the tanks, again, just Zealot bombing where they can to see if they can get any free inflicted tank shots. And it looks like Jarcino is going to pull the trigger and kind of like, I mean, again, moving out of its natural is so hard because Protoss has such a nice conclave to hit you on. Also, wonderful storms from Jarcino's High Templar, really melting through the health of the Terran, but we are going to see just the power. Also, great snipes from these vultures. Magic Bullet playing out of their mind to break this position. But again, it's going to be like, do we just barely have enough Protoss? It looks like we do not, and Magic Bullet is actually going to be able to move out of their base. Now again, here's the thing. Back at home, Jarcino only has 12 gateways. So even if he's producing every single gateway unit he possibly can, he's not remaxing using his massive bank. So really, this 6,000 minerals and 3,000 gas aren't actually doing anything for Jarcino at the moment, right? Just because he does not have the infrastructure to do anything with it. So Magic Bullet is going to keep pushing across the map. At this point, he can lift up his main command center and take his 3rd base. Behind this, Jarcino is taking a 5th base, which is fine, but he doesn't need minerals, he needs gateways. So A bit of an awkward push up here. Big, nice storm on the tanks of Magic Bullet. D-Matrix goes down on that tank, but it should get still fought through relatively quickly. There's the big transfer of SCVs up into the third base, but we do have a Dragoon there to take a couple of free pot shots. And again, it's just Terran at 2-1 is going to trade well with Protoss. Like, once Terran gets to 2-1, it is impossible 100% for Protoss to actually trade armies efficiently. You need overwhelming forces, and to get those overwhelming forces, you need like 20 gateways, which Jarcino just doesn't have. Escalate in the chat says Jarcino needs to work on their macro, and that is 100% what it is. They have had this game in the bag if they had 6 extra gateways up here. You have enough to fit up here, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 probably, and that would be enough to win the game. So like, even with double the Terran supply, a couple of 2-1 tanks kind of can kill a much larger Protoss army, especially since Jarcino hasn't rebuilt observers. So if these spider mines get good connections, that'll change how this the math of this game works. Really, it is just that Magic Bullet doesn't have their third base operational yet. I do think they probably should have lifted their main up and floated it over, as opposed to building a new command center. Because now Jarcino will be able to come in, crash through, and it looks like they are going to manage to flank the Terran army and take it out before it can get established. GG is called by Magic Bullet, and that is going to be the game for Jarcino, tying the series up 1-1 for our Protoss and Terran players. GG's, both players played extremely well. It's just there's small things in either playstyle that I think could be improved. Magic Bullet played out of their mind to come back from how much damage Jarcino did early on, and Jarcino, you know, despite not macroing the best, they still macroed enough. So we're going to be moving on to our third game on our third map on Neosylphid 2.0 for the match point for both players, and that is going to be welcome. We're yeah, moving to the jungle. Ricardo redeemed a posture check, so I'm just gonna sit up a bit more in my seat. I was starting to embrace my roots, my basic evolutionary form of a shrimp, and just curve towards the monitor, so thank you for that. And in the top of Neosylphid, the 12 o'clock position, we have the dark blue Terran Magic Bullet here to what rhyme? Bullet. Dude, nothing rhymes with bullet. Okay, I'll come back to him. But we have Magic Bullet representing 2 Fact, 2 Furious, here to play games that look extremely spurious. I think that's a word. In the bottom right of Neosylphid, we have Jarcino, the light pink Protoss with the most toss. That counts as a rhyme. Probe getting an extremely early scout, so that was a pylon scout probe. So Jarcino looking to get the gas steal, but unfortunately, his attempts will be brought to heel as he does not scout the Terran main first. Magic Bullet playing very standard Terran play. The Zealot wall, supply depot, barracks. Zealots will perish. Refinery in time. Tech will be fine. And Jarcino at that is going to have to transition to more standard Protoss play, much to this early scouting probe's dismay. I've been... First scout from Magic Bullet's SCV sees the cybernetic core going up. No zealot in production. The dragoons will begin to function. Scouting probe chased out, but Magic Bullet is not hiding anything. I couldn't think of a rhyme for that one on the fly. I really underestimated how much effort that trying to cast a game while rhyming as much as possible would be. Yep, bunker going up. Dragoons will be stuck. Looks like Jarcino going for the 2 gateway Dragoon pressure to match, to put, to make the bunker, the Marines, feel the pressure. I'm gonna rhyme pressure with pressure. Listen, it's fine. It's perfectly valid. SCV gets in to scout, while the Dragoon begins to not head out. Never mind, he comes back. Have I missed my games already? Phoenix 2470, you have not. I think they're the next series that we're going to cast. But the expansion was faked. The 2 facts will make the Protoss bake like a pie. Okay. But as the Dragoons head over, the word for the subtlety will be closer. Actually, I don't even know. Jarcino isn't going to see that the expansion hasn't started, so this 2-fac is going to completely take them by surprise. We see siege tanks coming out, spider mines in production. I already rhymed production with function once already this cast. Well, actually, Jarcino with the Templar Archive. So this is one of the things that, since you cast our game pre-season, now you get to do the rematch. Love it when the stars align. Oh, wow, that is pretty good. I almost feel like I should... I didn't even realize that. Because, again, half of these streams are just stream of consciousness, so I literally... I need to be better about remembering what I've actually talked about. But I'm super excited with that to see how much everybody's improved from preseason. So, yep, the 2-fac is now en route, but they'll have Dark Templars to give them the boot. 2-fac actually, DTs are one of the things that soft hard counter 2-fac, and the reason why is that the Terran has to completely rely on mines to deal with that, but mines are extremely unreliable to deal with Dark Templar. Dark Templar can snipe them as they're being laid down. Listen, Dada, we work on Twitch Plays Pokemon rules. If you redeem another Sublime cast, I will stop rhyming, but until that happens, I will continue having this awkward timing. DTs taking swipes left and right as the Terran loses every unit in sight. They'll have to scramble to get an expansion. And behind this, the DTs will probably run into the spider mines and die. So DTs actually take, I think, 2 spider mine hits to die. So if you send the DTs in one at a time, it is possible to kind of maybe get them up in here clean out this base, but not now. You can't do it now. Ooh, okay, that might have worked. DT swipe. Unfortunate. Yeah. So Jarcino does have their expansion coming up. They do have Dragoons here to defend against the Vulture run by, and again we have a 9 worker lead from our. No way. All right, that's enough. That's enough Vultures to get in and kill too many probes. Yep, Vultures in the mineral line. Protoss. Is crying. Stretch it. That was 6 probes lost. Now the worker count is almost even. Both players getting their expansions up at roughly the same time because one went for the DT rush, one went for the 2-fac rush. So yeah, I would have said Protoss is in a better position, but they lost a lot trying to actually attack in the front. Vulture Scimo camera. Listen, making rhymes using rhyme is like cheating. If you do it, your style points take a beating. Jesus. Not good at this. Yeah, honestly, this just looks like a normal game at this point. With the exception that Siege mode isn't finished. Like, you could probably show me this game, say, hey, this is 5 minutes into a TVP, and I'd be like, yeah, that looks like a normal game. It's just, no, we're 9 minutes into a PvT, and one player has a Templar Archives already. Okay. Okay, most useless thing in the game, clicking on a supply building and it tells you all of this. This is the most pointless thing in StarCraft. Like, with the exception of supplies provided, because like if you've never played this game before and you're like, oh, what does this do? And it says, oh, it provides 8 supply. That's very interesting. But then it says supplies used 50, total supplies 60, supplies max 200. It's like, we have this information. It's like the same thing here. Like, I can understand having supplies provided 8, supplies provided 10. That's understandable because if you're like super new to the game, you don't know it. That would be fine. Like, it's like, oh, well, let me click on this real quick. Oh, okay, it provides 8 psi. Maybe this information is made for role players? I guess? What, like, what, okay, what? Now, pardon me here, but how do you role, like, okay, I guess I can kind of see a way to role play StarCraft where you're like, oh, I'm playing this game. I mean, I do have a fucking lorecast, whatever, redemption thing. So you can be like, oh, we're doing this. But even then, like, why would you need to roleplay, oh, yes, my supplies max is 200. Thank you, Terran Supply Depot, for letting me know that crucial information. Even though, like, you know that. That is saying it's a holdover from Warcraft 2, which couldn't be understandable. 1994 game and a 1998 game being played in 2022. Vulture with Rainer in at 1 BC for support. Yeah, dude. Man, I need to play Warcraft 2 again sometime. Oh, okay. Magic Bullet is going to be pushing Jarcino away from his main there. 2 raids because they were present in Terran forces too. Huh. Red, blue, teal, purple, orange, brown, white, yellow. Those were the original Warcraft colors. That makes sense. Even in Warcraft 1, or was that mostly in Warcraft 2? too. That game's so good. That's why resetting in that order. That's why resetting the colors. I'm wrong, by the way. I'm thinking of the wrong game. I'm so sorry. Just woke up, and for whatever reason, I thought you were doing week 5 games. That is my bad. All right, Phoenix. That's fine. We'll cast week. We'll do that next week. We'll cast those tier 3 games. I got you. Don't worry. Yeah, Jarcino has a third base, so we're looking like at a very similar game, very similar to game 2, with the exception that like Jarcino didn't do as much damage early game, and they took some damage themselves. So like, I stand by that. I think Magic Bullet's macro is just phenomenal for tier 3, and especially in this matchup where we've seen in games 1 and 2, like Jarcino's macro just it ain't it, Chief. It's not there. I'm sorry, Jarcino, if you're watching this, but please, if you need to point at anything and be like, what is something that you need to practice? Just macro. And unless Magic Bullet takes possibly one of the worst engagements of all time with unsieged tanks. Oh my god. Well, that is a fight that I think just happened. That, I think it's extremely hard to have thought to, like, predict that kind of fight. Just because, like, it went so bad. I feel like I have to rewind just to see how bad it was, because I saw like the two forces there. I was like, okay, there's tanks, they'll siege up, Protoss will have to move out, and GG's to both players, by the way, but holy shit, don't do this. There's no tank sieged in the natural to give covering fire. All of the tanks sieged right as the Zealots got on top of them. Siege was researched. They do have siege. Yeah, I don't know if this was maybe just a miscalculation on just how much Protoss was sitting outside of the base, but it was a lot of Protoss. It was enough Protoss. That is unfortunate for our player Magic Bullet. I really felt like they were getting into a good position. They had the army to push out. It was just a misplay, and sometimes that's all it is. They played really well aside from that last bit, and that is going to give on our splash stream, that is going to give Jarcino the 2-1 win over their opponent, picking up the second win. Picking up the second win for the United Emu Directorate. I'm sure the players of 2Fact2 Furious are feeling a bit like Australia now, in that they just cannot stop losing to emus. Our next match is going to be Phoenix 2470 versus RDN User in a Terran versus Zerg. But before we get into that, I am going to have a quick break to have a quick break of like maybe a couple minutes. We've been going for an hour and a half now, and I've drank like 2 cups of coffee, so we're living. All right, we'll be back in just a few moments. Yeah. nothing. Alright, we're back. Didn't mute the mic. Hopefully, nothing was heard. We are going to move into our first game of Phoenix 2470 versus RDN user. Yeah. Right now, I should probably switch the splash screen over. At least I realized my mistake before I introduced the players. So let's hop into the game in the top left corner of Goodnight as the dark green Terran. We have RDN user. Or did you argue with your mom telling her that yes, you need to play StarCraft with your internet? Oh man, that's true. Yeah, and in the bottom left corner we have Phoenix 2470 as the dark blue Zerg. CPL takes priority over a lot of things. Alright. Oh, Phoenix is playing Zerg. I thought they were Terran. Which wouldn't make sense because it's TVZ and RDN user is Terran, so we have the Zed v Ted. And so this is the matchup I know the least about because I play neither of these. But it's always fun to watch because it's like the one matchup that Terran actually is active in. So like both players both players in a PVT or in a ZVT are like really active out on the map doing all sorts of things. So it's a fun matchup to watch. Nothing much more to say other than that. Oh! Also, if you're watching this, be sure to you know, make clips of the stream and post them in the CPL clips channel on the CPL Discord, because once again, when the CPL staff, they go to make hype videos, they go to make like things that represent the league and promotional material and whatnot, it really helps for them to have as much variety of clips as possible, because usually if it's just like one team or like one person who's like coming in and making a bunch of clips, like they're usually watching like their team or their players or their games, and they're making clips out of it, and yeah, and so it basically is like Dada is saying in the chat, we need as many clips as possible, because last season, because I was making a hype video for the team, I took a bunch of clips of the flying SCVs, and so in this season's hype video, those were the clips that were used. So it's really important for like us to have like a huge variety so that like all the teams can be included in like promotional material and hype videos and stuff like that. So again, just whenever something happens, if like something makes you like, if there's like a hype moment in a stream, such as 6 Zerglings running up a ramp right as a bunker finishes, the Zerglings might be able to go over and get to the mineral line, but it looks like RDN user is going to be able to hold this. One Zergling is going to get over here and begin sort of punching at SCVs, but because SCVs are the most broken worker units, they will be able to fight the Zergling and kill it, as the Zergling like freaks out and doesn't know what to do. He didn't think he'd make it this far, and he dies, and everyone was sad. Meanwhile, Phoenix is getting their expansion up, but once again, just also finish shield, since we are actually getting into gameplay now. Take some clips. Alright. Factory is up, so the first Vulture is going to be coming out. So it looks like RDN users are going to be going for more of a mech style, which is very common to, it's very common for lower tier players to play mech, simply because like it's a lot less APM dependent. You have vultures, which you can lay spider mines down. You have tanks, which you can siege up, and these are all things that are relatively easy to micro, as opposed to giant marine medic clumps. Yeah, and Phoenix throwing down all the 4 sunken colonies, not the greatest SimCity here. You usually want a straight line, because when it's set up like this, when like the death ball comes in, they can pick off that sunken colony, then that sunken colony, then that sunken colony, and the damage is sort of staggered. But as the vulture's going to head in, it is going to take the full damage from these sunken colonies and get killed in 3 shots. Yeah. Because sunken colonies do 40 damage. Didn't know they did that, which is a lot. I'd always assumed they did 20 base damage, and then like you see like vultures or Goliaths try to fight sunken colonies and they just get shredded through, and it's like, oh, these things are actually insane. Phoenix getting up to lair, so we will be seeing Mutalisks, which is very standard for Zerg play. And if RDN user doesn't get their missile turrets up in time, it will be very dangerous. Like, Goliaths can kind of fight Mutalisks once you get enough of them, but in low numbers, they're just kind of like more mobile missile turrets, in that they'll do half damage to the Mutalisks, and the Mutalisks can kind of pick them off by diving over them. Actually, hold on, we have double Evo Chamber, so we might be seeing more of a Hydralisk style coming out with Lurkers. Phoenix might be doing a Lurker bust over Mutaplay, which, no, he's going straight to Hive. Zerg Queen's Nest built right away. So I think Phoenix is just skipping straight into either Ultralisks or Defilers. They have their 3rd base on the bottom right low ground being set up, and that if they can secure this, they kind of get their 4th base for free. And that is going to be huge. Is like Zerg, their inflection point is getting up to 4 gases, and that's really what lets them buy all the tech that they need to hold a late game. Just now getting their 2nd gas geyser. Queen's Nest is done, so I would assume we'll see the Hive as soon as we have enough resources for it. And meanwhile, RDN user is just getting a lot of Goliaths. So this is the a common timing attack is like it's a +1 Goliath timing attack to bust the Zerg, and I'm not entirely, I don't know the exact math or how it is supposed to actually play out. I know you get like 1 siege tank with siege mode to kill the sunken colonies, but if I had to place a bet, I would assume that skipping straight to Hive is not what you want to do versus this. Now the Zerglings, they're going to try to dive up into the main, which I would disagree with because the natural has absolutely no defenses. And so they will be able to get a lot of damage on these SCVs, pick off a number of them. 41 SCVs to 25 drones. 2 SCVs have died already. It looks like we're going to get 3, maybe 4? Looks like we're going to just have 3 SCVs picked off. And other than that, the Goliaths are revealed, so Phoenix does now know what their opponent is doing. And they actually might just be rushing straight into Adrenalings, which is very effective. Adrenalings will have speed, they'll be able to have an insane level of DPS. No, it's going to be Ultralisks, which makes sense. They've been upgrading melee, armor. So on Hive, we're going to see the Ultralisk Cavern, and we'll probably we will see the Adrenal upgrade, but we're also going to see Ultralisks mixed in as well. And with mass Goliaths, I'm not sure how that plays out. I would assume that the Lings have a really good matchup against Goliaths, just because they can really quickly get a surround on them and then chew through them. But I wouldn't be surprised if the fact that Goliaths do 12 The fact that Goliaths do 12 normal damage per shot, if in a large enough clump they can chew through Zerglings before the Zerglings actually get a surround. The Adrenal upgrade still has not started, but the Ultralisk Cavern has gone down. 2 hatcheries are going down in the main. Huge gas bank for our Zerg player, but once again, like, they aren't really spending it on any tech. The Ultralisks aren't, the Ultralisk armor isn't being upgraded. The Zergling attack speed upgrade isn't being upgraded, so it is, I think, like, RDN user has a very nice opportunity here to push forward and try to take it out. The Zerglings tried to establish this third base, and the drone is going to die along the way, and that's going to trigger Phoenix user to Phoenix user. No, that's going to trigger Phoenix to realize that, like, the Goliaths are here. The Ultralisk starts. We have Ultralisk speed upgrading. And the Goliaths are just going to have to try to figure out how they're going to bust this. 4 Sunken Colonies, I'm pretty sure, will get shredded by a controlled group of Goliaths fairly quickly. And, yeah, but I don't think Phoenix really has the income to be able to, oh, they're actually going for this base. I'm not sure. I think he might have scanned it, or we might just have a very advanced star sense here. Yeah, I mean, these Goliaths will be able to kill the... He actually is going to back off. I was going to say the Goliaths would be able to kill the Sunkens there, but he actually backs off, and I don't think I agree with that. Goliaths do shred. Yes, Goliaths are weak to Sunks, but however, like, there were still 2 Sunks that were building. One was just about to die, and you still have a full control group of Goliaths. Like, I think it was an okay... You could have taken this and turned this base off. That would kill... nearly 12, a full control group of drones. But as is, RDN user just checking the other corners, making sure there's no other sneaky hidden bases. And yeah, we're going to see the Ultralisk count climb. We're going to see the Zergling count climb. And also we have the Hydra Den on the way, as Phoenix is going to be getting into lurkers. I almost want to say I don't necessarily... Well, I guess you want to get at least a couple lurkers to be able to defend ramps, so that's fine. Ultralisk armor is about to be done. We have to kill their own Sunken Colony, and that's going to put the Ultralisk on +3, soon to be +4. But RDN user has an insane supply lead, 148 to 78, and really it is all because they have twice as many workers, 68 SCVs to 31 drones. Phoenix has been, they've been macroing okay, but these Ultrals are going to get on top of the Goliaths and buy time for the Zerglings to also come forward. And, yeah, Terran Mech is just extremely powerful, and the problem with Mech is that they get shredded by Defilers with Plague, with Dark Swarm especially, and when the Zerg isn't going for that playstyle, they, like, just the sheer firepower that Terran units have will melt through the Zerg. RDN user getting their third base set up, and they are beginning to push across the map. These Goliaths might catch this pack of Zerglings, which have been, I guess, mostly forgotten about on this third base here. But, yeah. The Ultra count has slightly replenished, Hydras are being mixed in with the army now, and of course, like, that +3 Carapace is on the way. I assume that is also +3 melee weapons. Oh, no, there's +2 melee weapons started. Yep. This is a very scary push by the Terran player, but again, that's just a lot of Goliaths. Again, the fact that they do normal damage is huge. Once the Ultras get on top, now the Goliaths do bait the Ultras into tank range, and tanks will deal an insane amount of damage, 75 per shot to these Ultras, minus of course the Ultralisk armor, but Ultralisks are insanely beefy. They are going to slowly get melted down, but with the Link support, the Hydralisk support, the looks like those insanely powerful Ultralisks will tear through the Terran mech. Some Goliath reinforcements are coming, but these Ultralisks will tear through them. It's 23 damage per Ultralisk swipe. And, yeah. RDN user's army is kind of reset. Phoenix is overcommitting a little bit. They are running into this reinforced Terran army, so these Hydras will get shredded through. But Phoenix has the ability to take a 4th base for free. Actually, they're in a really bad position. They had a huge gas bank, and it's finally been spent. And they only have 4 Ultralisks, 2 out already, and 2 more in production. Whereas RDN user, they have a massive bank. They still have their supply lead. They are taking a 3rd and a 4th, so they're going to be catching up. They're going to be catching up, if not surpassing Phoenix in base production. And Phoenix is once again attacking into here, but there is a reinforcement wave of Terran mech coming through with a mix of Vultures and Vultures, Goliaths, and Siege Tanks. Again, these Ultralisks are doing a great job buffering for the rest of the Zerg army, but the Siege Tanks will just melt through them. And once those Ultralisks fall, the rest of the Zerg army will as well, and RDN user will continue to have this 3rd base built up. They lose a couple of SCVs, but again, they maintain that 34 worker advantage, which is absolutely insane. Well, back at home, they're going up to 7 factories, so yeah, I'm thinking they're going to be okay. Second wave coming from the Zerg once again. It really just comes down to the fact that these Siege Tanks do massive damage to the Ultralisks, clean them up, and then the Zerglings aren't really providing enough firing power to take full advantage of the very beefy Ultralisks. What? 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 Okay, okay. You know what? Game is tilting. He got denied his 3rd base. Let's go to game 2. All right, let's switch back to the splash screen. Let's go to game 2. On to Eclipse 1.2, RDN user versus Phoenix 2470. Let's just... No words. No words. I don't... Oh man. Like, as a reminder to all of our players in the chat for CPL, it's... Don't leave games unless you for sure are dead. Unless you are playing Terran versus Zerg, and there are Ultralisks in your main killing your barracks or factories, just don't leave. Apparently there was great lag happening in these games, so I'm assuming RDN user is just extremely tilted. Which is, you know what? as much as I like to say don't leave games, I fully understand being so tilted that you just want to quit out and change over. And I can understand how in that situation the Zerg just keeps sending waves at you that you just go, you know what, I'm done, I'm not doing this, and you leave the game. It's, I guess, understandable. Maybe. Not really, but RDN user in the top right corner, this time playing as the Teal Terran on Eclipse, and in the bottom right we have Phoenix once again in the dark blue, playing as the Zerg on the bottom left of Eclipse. Again, cannot stress how great of a map Eclipse is. We also are seeing a 9 pool from we're seeing a 9 pool from Phoenix. We have a redemption for naming a unit, and we are going to name this Overlord RT. So Artie is heading across the map, while their drone friend is also moving across. We have some wonderful scouting time with RT. Yeah, we have a barracks supply depot set up. RDN user just playing, you know, against super standard. Sends their SCV out across the map. What is this? Okay, for a second I thought there was about to be a hatchery here, which would have been extremely funny. I mean, honestly, it kind of is a very funny all-in, like, follow-up to, like, the 9 pool, is to just build the hatchery here so that the Zerglings don't have to run all the way across the map. Yeah, but it still looks like it's just going to be that first initial 6 Zerglings. Marines on the top of the ramp. Behind this, Phoenix is going to be macroing up. They're getting just drones now, so they aren't hard committing to this. Great SCV pull here by RDN user, setting them up on the ramp so that the Marine can take pot shots. And I think it looks like, yeah, they're going to be able to set up that wall, but the Zerglings do find an angle, but they turn around to fight and kill some of the SCVs. Whoa, if you hit that SCV lives with 5 HP, the luckiest SCV in the world. If the Zerglings had gotten that, they would have paid for themselves, and they would have paid for themselves by killing workers. But even then, honestly, I think trading 6 Zerglings for 2 SCVs is absolutely worth it. Like, if you trade even on supply for army workers, like, you're probably okay with that, or yeah, you're probably okay with that. So yeah, Artie takes up his position in the pervert corner here, where no one can see him, but he can see everyone. We still have our drone here at the third base of RDN user, as RDN user is going to be setting up their expansion and sending another SCV out to scout. And they will see that behind all of this, Phoenix has just been making drones. There are no extra Zerglings, and we are seeing that first Vulture come out. The Sunken Colony is being put up, and you really only need 1 Sunken Colony to deflect the Vulture, but Phoenix is going to need to know if they're going to have to build 2 or 3. It looks like they're just going ahead and assuming that they will need to, so they're going to throw down those 3 Sunkens. This will also keep the SCV from really being able to scout. Again, Sunkens build at warp speed. If he builds, I really don't think he should be building a 4th or 5th Sunken here. It looks like he really wants to, but that would be a very bad idea, to say the least. Okay, he's building a 4th Sunken. He didn't need to. Usually it's like 3 Sunkens is good enough. Vulture dies. Like, 3 Sunkens is usually good enough, and then if your opponent is really pressuring you, you get the 4th or the 5th. So right now, all these they're just being kind of annoying, mostly because, if Phoenix gets into Ultralisks, they will have to kill one of their Sunkens in order to get out. Again, I actually kind of like the drone just sitting here, but honestly, like, if he had shaved off a single Zergling from the initial 6 and put it here, that would have been good. Artie still holding up, SCV checking, making sure that no sneaky corner bases are taken. Behind this, Phoenix is getting some additional Zerglings. Yeah. We see the lair is up for Phoenix user. I'm going to see if they're going to go for that extremely fast hive. And it looks like they are. Queen's Nest and Hydra Den both going down. RDN user, meanwhile, is going mech, adding on a third factory. Their armory is done. And now the Vulture is going to be moving out to try and get some scouting information. I assume he's just going to loop across the map, check around, make sure there aren't any stray Zerglings anywhere, and then eventually he'll run into some sunken colonies and die. Maybe. Hydra Den is finished. Queen's Nest is almost done as well. And so we will see the hive start as soon as we hit the minerals for it. There we go. We also have the double evo chambers going down, so it looks like Phoenix will be going for that same playstyle they did in game. And they are building the hatchery at the third. Not sure why, but it's very funny. If RDN user actually doesn't go to take a third, it would be very funny to see like sunken colonies built up the ramp, and then having like Goliath not only have to fight sunken colonies, but fight high ground sunken colonies. So that's kind of fun. I do like this. It's not good, but I do like it. Yeah, RDN user banking up their Goliath count, same as game 1. And meanwhile, Phoenix is just teching up as much as possible. They're getting some army, but they are falling really far behind in terms of drones, and that's because they've been on 2 hatcheries for a lot of this game. They probably need to get a third macro hatch somewhere at some point, maybe like right up in here just to, I don't know, cover the base and creep. But yeah, like Zerg doesn't need to match workers with their opponent, but it also does help if they do. Now we're going to have a Ling run by Phoenix just to run in. They're taking some swipes at the bunker, but it probably, like, they might get the bunker and some of the Marines, but I don't think they're actually going to be getting that much damage. So you trade all those Zerglings for a bunker and 3 Marines and trade a Hydra. Like, that's a really bad move in there. And now RDN user can just move. Oh my god. He's mining the third. Yes! Oh, this is hilarious. And he's building 4 sunken colonies in a line to defend it. I love it. This is great. Yeah, so the Ultralisk Cavern is on the way. But with all these Goliaths moving out, again, RDN user doesn't know about this base, because why would you know about this base? Yeah, because here's the thing, right? He has to replace that entire army. So if he just did an attack in there, all of this could have been drones, and he would have been up to like 30 drone count or something. Probably more than 30. Obviously more than 30 drones. So it's kind of, you know, it's fine. He is on like 3 hatches now at least. But the issue is, like, he's still not building drones, and RDN users at 50 SCVs. So I just I think Phoenix, like, maybe like there's some Zerg. I don't know how to macro Zerg, so again, like, I can't say exactly where you like want to pump drones and where you want to build army. But it definitely feels like there's some sort of like macro issue going on here that could be ironed out. But we see this third base starting to be mined. RDN user doesn't realize that. They think that Phoenix is just powering up on 2 bases doing Turtle Zerg. But yeah, you can really see where the economy of Phoenix is kind of like biting back at them. My assistant coach told me I should only have 12 drones per base. That's fair, but in that case, I think really the issue would then become that like you just need to take your bases faster. Because we're at 11 minutes into the game and you only have 3 bases, or not that you only have 3 bases, but you're only just now starting to get your third base saturated, is a little odd. So to put it in perspective, you were matching bases with Terran for most of the game, and in every Zerg matchup where fair, I felt resource starved these games, and that's definitely because you were down a base. So Zerg, the reason why Zerg only has 12 drones per base is because Zerg needs to have more bases than their opponent. If you're a Zerg and you're matching bases with your opponent, you don't get the you need to get the extra drones on your bases that you're matching them with, just because like a Terran on 2 base will outmine a Zerg on 2 base because of that. So the Terran does now know this base exists, which is again just very funny. Maybe getting like a Defiler, if we went into Defiler Den, we could have got a Nidus Canal linking these bases. And honestly, I missed an SCV running the Sunk Wall, probably then. So here's the big move out from Phoenix. Unfortunately, they are just streaming the units across. It's not really a good concave attack here. So all of these units are kind of getting thrown away. You can see like the tanks and the Goliaths are just shredding them as they're running in single file. So again, not a great attack in from Phoenix. But, you know, doing their best. And at this point, the third base, it's only a matter of time. You have siege tanks sieged outside, and they will be able to take this third. Meanwhile, yeah, all the tech is behind. The army is gone for Phoenix. And this base is only moments away from falling. So, yeah, I think the big issue here is really just that when you stay on 2 bases, you lose the advantage. This is game 2, so we're about to go. I'm just going to assume Phoenix loses this game because I don't see a way they can come back from this. From losing 2 hatcheries, all these 3 ultras that just spawned in this base, a third of their economy. Yeah, so again, the reason why Zerg only needs 12 drones per mineral, per mining minerals per base, is because Zerg is expected to have a base up on their opponent. So for most of this game, we had 2 command centers and 2 hatcheries, and that meant that factor wasn't in play, essentially. Like, you can't rely on just having 12 drones per base because you didn't have the base advantage there. So yeah, like what your coach told you is true, but then there's also that reason behind why it's true. Phoenix said, I will admit they got a little tilted in the game. If you go like that, you for sure want to stop so you can tank. Yeah. So this honestly seems like every player was tilting because I have no idea why Ardian user left in the first game. So yeah, this game going on. Definitely can tell like sometimes the mental game isn't quite there. Also, RT still alive. He took a couple shots from what I assume would be a Goliath, but you know, he tanked them, he took them on the nose, and he felt alright with it. Hydra going to try to clear out to take maybe a third over there, gets killed by a spider mine as Ardian user prepares to move across the map. And again, it's a 100 supply lead for our Terran player, 35 worker lead, and we're soon to have a base lead for the Terran, so it is just going to look like yeah, Terran player will just move out and crush the Zerg infestation. And we'll go to game 3 on Neo Sylphid. Yeah, unfortunately, I just with the units the Terran has, I don't even see where a bad engagement could lose this game for them. Great siege up here. We're gonna nuke that drone as he's trying to go to take a third base. That is, yeah, tanks will shred through the Zerglings, and the Goliaths will help shred through the Ultralisks as Ardian user takes the base. 2 Ultralisks will spawn. I think they have their armor upgrades, but I hit the wrong hotkey. But it is going to be GG here, and Ardian user will take game 2. Yep, that's don't have much more to comment on this. Phoenix staying in the game just in case they can maybe pull a miracle off, which again, we respect that because it is better to stay in a losing game longer and force your opponent to play that out. They do GG and leave the game. It's better to stay in the game longer and force your opponent to play it out because there might be a insane mistake that they do. There might be an insane mistake, or your opponent might completely misread the situation and leaves. So yeah, we respect the fantasy GGs in this stream. And so now we're moving on to game 3. We've had very back and forth games for all of this. We've seen some proxy hatcheries. We've seen like just powerful mech play holding on against the Zerg player. And now we move into Neo-Sylphid, our third map of this week. One of the other best maps in the game. I think this is a really enjoyable experience. Like, this is just a really fun map to play on, in my experience. Like, it's up there with Eclipse in terms of just like really nice maps where you can have such a varied game experience. Like, if players want to play fast and play like aggressive, that's completely possible on this map. And if players want to play defensive and go for longer macro games, you also can see that on this map. So to me, that's the sign of what makes a good map, is if you see all types of games on them. And with that, both of our players playing extremely basic standard Zerg and standard Terran. At our 12 o'clock position, we have the olive green Terran Ardian user versus their opponent once more for the third game. Phoenix for CPL 8 for 2Fact2 Furious in the dark blue Zerg. Yeah, playing for the dark blue Zerg. I'm just saying words at this point. We see once again that 9 pool going down. So Phoenix has opened every game like this with those first 6 lings early on, and this is a map where, again, like, that aggressive player can be very rewarded, can be heavily rewarded, because the expansion to the main base, there is no ramp. It is all low ground, and so it makes it a lot harder for the Terran to actually hold. Now, the space is actually slightly tighter. Like, you would only need 2 SCVs to hold that because of the lurker egg. But yeah, we can see even the drone heading out to scout the other way as the Overlord checks up here. And as soon as this, yeah, we can see we've banked up 3 larvae, and as soon as that that spawning pool finishes, we're gonna have 3 Zerglings come out, and then probably a hatchery behind it. So there goes the 3 Zerglings. We are again hold up at 200 minerals. And once we hit 300, we'll see a hatchery built. You know what? I actually would almost like to see the scouting drone build the hatchery. Just because it's like, again, it's hidden. You won't see it. But the SCV is also scouting in that direction, so it would have been scouted. Overlord catches the Terran base, and the Zerglings will running out. Phoenix is just going to build their hatchery in their natural, like a sensible player. And as these 6 Zerglings move across the map, we are going to have to see what exactly RDN user is doing back at home. Now again, they do not see these 6 Zerglings. In fact, the SCV cut over and just barely missed them as they're running forward. There's not enough time for them to actually see what's happening. They're going to see the hatchery building, and they might be clued off on how late the hatchery is, but they're going to be clued off a bit too late. The Zerglings are going to be able to get here on top of the Marines. They're going to have to run back to the mineral line, but they unfortunately are just barely trying to micro, but it is not going to be enough as they retreat. And the Zerglings are going to get on top of that of that Marine, on top of the SCVs, and start tearing through them. One more Marine is going to get taken out. A bit almost like an anti-micro there. He would have killed that Zergling if he didn't move. And yeah, the Zerglings are on top of the SCVs. The SCVs now, again, they can fight Zerglings, okay. These aren't probes. They can sort of like fight back, but with 4 more Zerglings on the way, with 2 more already here, that is going to be GG, and KyonEXE is going to scam a win out of our Terran player for their third game. And again, listen, all I'm saying is if RDN user hadn't rage quit from game 1, they wouldn't have had to deal with this. So I'm just throwing that out there. That is going to be a 2-0 for, I'm sorry, a 2-1 for KyonEXE, 2470, putting a point on the board for Too Fact, Too Furious after they sustained 2 losses to the United Emu Directorate. Our next game is going to be Vint versus JtotheT. And I almost want to say this is going to be another TVZ, but it's actually going to be a PVT. KyonEXE2470 says that the first 2 games taught me he was weak to early aggression, so I went Zergling Rush. Honestly, that makes a lot of sense, and that's why I like, when doing this cast, that's why I like including the chat in on this, because we get those kinds of insights, and I love to hear how players adjust mid-match and whatnot. So that's really good to know, is like, oh hey, he's weak to Zergling Rushes. Let's do a Zergling Rush. Alright, let's hop into our first game of Vint versus JtotheT. Switch the stream over and hop into, why is this on Eclipse? Hold on, let me hold on. Let me make sure I actually loaded the correct game. I think they might have played in the wrong order, or I just loaded the game in the wrong order. Well, I guess they played games in the wrong order, so their game 1 is labeled as being on Eclipse, so we'll switch it back. Jesus. I like how the Twitch auto mod is like, no, we are going to like what? We found another variation of what Twitch auto mod will censor, so okay. Yeah, so we have in the top right corner Vint, or I guess Programmer, as the orange Protoss. And in the bottom left we have JtotheT from Clan Nightmares of Manx as the dark green Terran. And we're going to have a forward pylon. A forward pylon on 7 probes instead of 8. With an extremely fast scout. That is, well, guys, you know what? Game 1 Eclipse, wouldn't you expect some cheese, I guess. That probe is going to get into the Terran's main insanely quickly. The second probe, of course, will be throwing up the gateway, but then once he's not even building a 9th probe. Yeah, the classic 8 gateway rush. JtotheT even setting up the SCV to build the refinery to make sure that the probe cannot gas steal. And Programmer is just going to be really annoying hanging out in the Terran main. Yeah. Right? We got 150. The probe actually baits the barracks SCV out from for just the briefest of seconds. And I'm guessing once this gateway finishes, we will see a Zealot made and sent across the map, and we'll see if JtotheT can handle that aggression. It is not a 2-gate, so it is not the most aggressive version, but it is a very early gateway. That gateway was built on 8 instead of 10. First Zealot done already. Is going to start heading across the map. The SCV will see this, the scout. They will cross paths with the Zealot, so JtotheT will know it's coming. I think like the proper move would probably be to build like a bunker or something right here just to be safe, or trusting in the marine micro at this wall here. But either way, yeah, I mean, factory coming up. If the factory finishes, then Zealots really can't do anything at all. The simulator is done, so I think once we see a certain amount of minerals, we'll see the cybernetics core started, and the simulator will begin to mine. See the next building go up, another supply depot. As yep, so the Zealot does have to die for the factory SCV, because if a vulture comes out, it is game over. Now the Marine is going to dodge back over to their wall, get some shots on the Zealot as the Zealot is taking out SCVs. The Marine is going to take some damage, some good micro baits him away, but the second Zealot is here already, and we aren't seeing that bunker start. So again, the unfortunate thing is the factory is all the way over here. Bagel Pirate requests that we name a unit Bagel. And you know what? I think having this first Zealot with 3 kills, I think that's a good enough name. This is the Bagel Zealot, and he is turning these Terran units into slicing through them like butter. Yeah. So the factory does finish, and one vulture can kill these Zealots, but JtotheT is going to take a lot of damage in the meantime. Let's focus back on Bagel. We're at 4 kills on our named Zealot, our hero Zealot, Bagel. All the Marines are dead. The bunker comes up a bit too late. We're down to 8 SCVs, as even then another Zealot filters in and kills the Marine that was on the ramp. The Vulture does finally come out, but it is 5 SCVs to 9 probes. The Cybernetics core has finished, so we could see a Dragoon come out as soon as it's possible. Oh, Bagel is deciding that he can fight the Vulture on his own and is just charging after him. Bagel dies a hero's death with 8 kills, one of which being the Vulture. So the next Dragoon that a programmer makes, that is the soul of Bagel. That is their body recovered for the purposes of it. 0 SCVs for JtotheT, no minerals with which to replace them. And I mean, that is going to be game here, and programmer is going to take a very quick Zealoty win for their opponent. JtotheT says, no, I'm lifting these buildings. Come and kill me, asshole. As you know, being a Protoss player, programmer is in fact a rude person. All right, let's go to game 2. Let's go to game 2. On to our game 2 on Good Night. Our players flipped them around. Let me switch over to our splash screen. And that will be, yeah, loaded to game 2. Good Night. Once again, we'll see if Bagel, or I'm sorry, because I'm associating our Zealot with the actual player, but let us see if programmer or Vint continues with the cheese, because Good Night is a very cheesable map. It has a buildable center, so that like possibility is always open. But then, you know, it is a 4-player map, so it is also inherently harder to cheese on. Love to see our CPL players getting along. JT to the T in the bottom left as the brown Terran versus Vint or Programmer in the top right as the slate gray Protoss. So it looks like we aren't going to get the center 9-9 gates. Usually if you're going to do that, your first probe that you build has to move out. So it looks more like Programmer is going to be going for a more basic standard game, and then it's probably going to be a similar thing to JT to the T. Nothing, JT doesn't have anything really, nothing suspicious going on, right? It's the supply depot first. I assume Programmer is referring to the gateway pressure as you know, it's if you're like, you know what, I'm gonna do a random gateway thing and you don't know the timing, it is a little weird to play out. Floating some resource. Is this gonna be 12 next? All right, Programmer says, you know what? We did one thing. Let's do the entire opposite of this and do a 12 next, because honestly, 12 nexts on 4-player maps are a little free. They do kind of just work. And yeah. So there's the 12 next. He's gonna scout, make his gateway, and JT is also scouting up, so they will see each other, and they'll probably be second scouting each other. But again, like, it's a 12 next, right? It's a 12 next cross spawns, especially. So I think when JT scouts this, they either have to really hard commit to aggression, or they just have to accept that Programmer gets away with it. I'm going to assume that it's the latter, just because really hard committing to like the cross spawns 2-fac will be really difficult. It requires a lot of really good execution, so yeah. Alright, the probe gets up into the base. Programmer gets the full scout on the Terran, sees that there really isn't any, well, actually, 3 SCVs mining does imply a 2-fac, so we see the second gateway go up and the Dragoon production start, so that actually, great call there from Programmer. Basically if someone goes 2-fac, you get 2 gates, you spam out Dragoons, and you're probably going to be safe from that. It looks like in this case it is more going to be like a fake 2-fac, as the command center is going to start right up on the ramp. The probe is going to try to get the scout in, but again doesn't see the base coming up, and so Programmer is just going to just make a bunch of units to be safe from it, and yeah. I mean, it doesn't hurt them because, again, this was a 12 next build, so economically they aren't really sacrificing a whole lot to defend the imaginary 2-fac. Since they already have a huge macro advantage, they're at a 7-worker lead already. And behind this, yep, JT to the T has their tank out. Their Marines are positioned forward. As soon as siege mode finishes, that tank can just siege right there and be perfectly safe. And that should allow JT to get their command center down here as well. Again, pylon wall set up, so vulture run-bys will be negated. But the Dragoon is just going to dive in a little bit. But 1 Dragoon cannot fight 3 Marines in a tank, and it will have to back off, and it looks like it will be. But I think at this point, Programmer can kind of know that their opponent, like, they probably aren't planning something insanely aggressive, just because there would be more Marines out at this point. The expansion for JT does get down. However, Programmer already has an 11 worker lead, and it looks like that is not stopping anytime soon with the double probe production constantly producing. So really great macro here on Programmer's side. Oh, and it's actually going to be the Robo Support Bay as opposed to the Observatory. So we might be seeing Reavers come into play here and have some Reaver drops fly over to nuke some SCVs. Or we might just have, like, I don't know, shuttle speed, elevator some Dragoons up in here. 2 extra gateways being added on, so great. Again, just great moves here. So the Dragoons angle themselves up into here, and like, I missed this completely, but it very much looks like it did not work. That was throwing away like 5 Dragoons. They might have gotten an SCV or 2, but other than that, like, the tanks are already here. There's a siege tank right here that'll kill the Dragoon. So that was at least 5 Dragoons and maybe 6 thrown away for free. That's very bad, but we do have a third coming up here from Programmer. So again, if JtotheT does not like punish it or go for anything like aggressive off the bat, and it is going to be shuttle speed with Reavers, like, Programmer will maintain this economic lead. However, we are seeing the worker count slowly creep up. It's still an 11 worker lead for our Protoss player, but the probe production has stalled for the time being. Vulture does get out. There's no Dragoons back. Well, there's one in the main, I guess. Huge probe transfer, but I think the Vulture just barely misses it. Yeah, just barely, but he will get into the main, and there is nothing at home to defend save for 1 Reaver. So this Vulture is actually going to be doing some crazy stuff. Again, probes fighting Vultures, you hate to see it, but I mean, look, I'll trade a Vulture for 3 probes any day. Programmer setting up across the map, scans coming down from JT just to check in on their opponent. They see the tech, they see the gateway count, and 4 gateways is not a lot. Did he only get 1 probe? Wow, that was a bad trade then. So you know what? I would be fine with trading a Vulture for 1 probe if my opponent suicided 5 Dragoons to get 3 SCVs. I think that's okay. The worker count, again, it is still favoring our Protoss player. 35 SCVs to 46 probes. But again, we see that our Protoss player isn't actually continually producing probes. They are taking a 4th base though. So again, Programmer is just really playing into that heavy macro. And they're getting their tech up. They have the shuttle is somewhere with the Reaver. It is right there. So we'll have to keep an eye on that unit's movement. But actually, like, again, and surprisingly, for having such a worker advantage, like, Programmer doesn't have that much over JtotheT. Now they are spending their resources more than their opponent. They do have about a 20 supply lead, 10 of which are workers. But a lot of this money right now is being spent on expansions, which is fair because JT hasn't really been pushing out. They can't really be aggressive. They're spending a lot of money on tech. They're floating a lot of resources. So Programmer can kind of skimp on Army, on getting the really advanced late game tech. Just take 4 bases by 10 minutes. That's okay. Like that, they're staying on track. 51 probes, by the way. And there's the Zealot drop onto the tanks. Reaver drop as well. Unfortunately, that does kind of get thrown away as there are enough tanks there to take them out. But they do get the tanks in the red. Vultures are going to try to move out. However, we do have a nice ring of goons sort of set up to catch them. And yeah, we just have continuous production. Programmer, really, we'd like to see at this point maybe 4, 5, 6 more gateways added on. We have like all the space here, all the space up here. It would really help. It would really help their macro to get those additional gateway counts. Observers getting into the main, seeing exactly what their opponent is doing. They see that the Terran is up to 5, soon to be 6 factories. And honestly, as a Protoss, one of the things you want to do is try to like double your the gateway count. Like you see their factory count, you want twice as many gateways, and that's kind of how your army stays in equilibrium with the Terran. And if you can afford more, that's great. And we see that Programmer is going up on that gateway count. We have room for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we can see 2 more gateways thrown down to really make sure that the production is good. But you know what? As long as we are increasing that gateway count, we're good. Observer in the main gets killed by a scan and some Goliaths, as we are getting that science facility tech on the Terran side. Meanwhile, Programmer continuing to maintain their concave here. Observers are getting picked off, so really great work here from JtotheT. It is really, I guess, underappreciated just how valuable these observers in the Terran main is, just because you are always operating with essentially perfect information if they go unanswered. So cleaning them up is a huge deal, and so it's really great play there to scan, to pick them off and just get rid of them. Templar Archives on the way. So we could just be seeing full Gateway Man with High Templar added in, or we could see the Stargate added soon to go for Arbiters. Again, recalls are extremely effective, just like you can recall like over here in the main, recall like right into this big empty space and get right on top of the Terran army. We see Reavers being built, and yeah, I guess Protoss is just going to continue saturating their bases. They're maintaining that worker lead, they're maintaining that supply lead. But again, we are going to get into the issue where Terran, if Protoss doesn't have some sort of late game tech, Terran at 2-1 will run them over. That is just how that works. You need Arbiters, you need Carriers, you need good Storms, you need one of those and good execution of that to fight the Terran. And it doesn't look like Programmer is actually getting into any of those right now. They're floating a lot of resources. They're unfortunately supply blocked, so we're getting into a really awkward position. This is the moment where the game where playing Protoss gets really, really hard, because if your macro isn't on point, you'll fall behind and the Terran will run you over. If you aren't paying attention to your army, you'll fall behind and the Terran will run you over. So like, it's around like the 13-14 minute mark where the execution on the Protoss side, like the difficulty really ramps up. And because like the Terran now is actually able to present a threat to you. You can see here, JtotheT is presenting that threat. They're slowly inching their tanks forward. They're not taking bad engagements. They're just leapfrogging them forward to push Programmer back. Programmer just has to keep inching backwards. And yeah, JT is probably going to try to secure their mineral-only third base. They might try to secure a fourth somewhere. And they're just buying that time. We see the Stargate coming up now, so we could be seeing either a carrier switch or the Arbiter switch. I would say you could only do one or the other, but unfortunately Programmer has banked up enough resources. They haven't really been macroing effectively enough, so it is really hard to tell whether they want to go for one or the other. Now, unfortunately, the Zealot drop did not grab these spider mines here, which would have been amazing. However, the siege tank line does get soft reset, and the Protoss is going to try to run in over them. Unfortunately, the Zealots are slow Zealots. That is huge here. Because fast Zealots engage further, they'll be able to take shots much better. But yeah, the army from Programmer gets completely reset, and so we're gonna have to rely on these you know, 8 gateways to remax, and we can see that even with Programmer queuing up as many units as possible, they're still floating an insane amount of resources. You know, I feel like it's very rude to actually click on the buildings as they're producing, because when casting and I click on a building and it has like 5 units, 4 units queued up, it feels almost like I'm calling them out specifically. Like, there is a level of casting where it's like, hey, there's these issues in the gameplay, but it's like those are tactical, there's whatever. But you click on a gateway and there's 4 units queued up. It's like, okay, hold on, let's not do that. Let's pretend we didn't see that for a moment. That seems a little rude. So we are going into Arbiters. We still do not have Zealot Speed. That seems to be an upgrade that we've forgotten this game. And with that, it seems that JT is going to be able to push out, and you know, I mean, they've kind of stabilized the game, right? Like 99 Terran supply to 130 Protoss supply. That seems kind of even, especially since JtotheT went into Protoss Zealot mode, where you feel that you're behind, or you feel that you just need to like do something, and you just spam Zealots out. And that's a signal that the Protoss like mental game has gone down the drain. At least for me, when I build this many Zealots in a game after a bad trade, it's because I'm tilted and I'm throwing the game. The shuttle is kind of just trying to fake a drop in the main to bait the army out, but I mean, JT is going up to 2-1. The Protoss army is continually reset, so it just doesn't have like enough to field. JT has enough banked, like, so they are mining out, but JT has enough banked to kind of hold on for a very long time, you know? Like, they have plenty of room to take their third with this bank. And with scans going down, they're checking, they see the third there, they see there's no fourth in the corner. And yeah, I think we're just going to see our 2 players kind of sit back and macro up. And the thing is, like, JT is playing very passively. And Programmer is, like, not playing passively. They're just suiciding their units. But at the same time, Programmer has the base advantage, so it's a really weird, like, I guess back and forth here, where JT isn't moving out to punish the fact that Programmer is building a lot of suiciding a lot of units, or they're not moving out to like punish bases, but at the same time, because Programmer has all these bases, they kind of can just keep throwing units away. So it's a really awkward situation where if either player does anything other than what they're doing right now, they would have an advantage, but because they're doing the thing that they're doing, the game is equal, because both players are kind of not doing a thing that wins them the game. So it's just an awkward situation. Now I'm pretty sure I saw an Arbiter in production somewhere, but I have no idea where it actually is at. Oh, it's in the main here. Banking up energy. Also, I did see this, which is something I always call out when I see Arbiters. If you think I forgot about it, I didn't. JT Programmer researched recall before stasis. The thing is, stasis only costs 100 minerals and 100 gas. Recall only costs 150 minerals and 150 gas. At the moment you're getting Arbiters, those upgrades are essentially free. There is no reason to get recall before stasis, ever at all, because if Programmer started researching stasis before recall, this Arbiter, if he needed it, would be able to stasis, and recall would be finishing up right about now. But because he researched recall first and hasn't researched stasis, this Arbiter can't stasis. If there's a situation where this Arbiter would want to stasis, it just can't do it. But you're still waiting for the energy to recall. So there's no benefit to researching recall before stasis ever at all, unless you're trying to save 100 minerals and 100 gas, which again, if at the point you're building arbiters late game and you have 5, 4, 6 bases, why would you do this? Also, he's flying in at 140 energy instead of 150. Luckily, there's one missile turret here, and there's no Goliath, so it's fine. The Arbiter can just kind of sit here and take pot shots and eventually die. It will reach 150 energy. And finally get the recall off into the Terran main. This actually is a kind of a bad spot because there are tanks here already ready to fight this mostly Dragoon army. They aren't really on top of the production of the factories. I mean, they will kill these siege tanks, but there's plenty of time for JtotheT to respond, siege up some more tanks, and kill the remaining 4 Dragoons. I'm sorry, I missed these 2 behind the refinery. So there's 6 Dragoons here, and they will get killed by SCVs and siege tanks. So, a bit awkward, to say the least. Meanwhile, we have some Dragoons running across the map, dying in spider mines. Some Dragoons trying to assault the third to keep JtotheT off of it. But again, we have tanks set up, ready to defend, and we have just more Dragoons running across the map into their deaths. Programmer actually is running out of resources at this point. They've got to a point where they're spending their bank, but it's kind of because they're only mining off, like, they're only really mining off, like, 2.5 bases. Fuzzy Branch in chat says it's a tower defense game, and honestly, it really does look like that. Just these slow waves of, I mean, how many, like 12 kills, 5 kills, 7, 3, 5, 7. Like, these tanks are just farming kills. 12 and 9. Like, come on. Like, come on. Like, if Pro Gamer just sat back, stayed calm, maxed out, and A-moved, we'd have a different story because they would have had a critical mass of units. But that's not happening, so we also aren't seeing Arbiter replacements being made. Yeah. First time chat from Fewer. SoCS says low-level PvTP should always go carriers, and you know what? I don't disagree with that. I think that's actually a great guideline. Just because, like, Arbiters are very tricky to use, and even in, like, tier 2 level, like, Arbiters, honestly, okay, Recall is a great ability. Don't get me wrong. You can win some free games off of Recall. Oh, this is going to be big. That is 12 probes. You can win some games off of Recall, but the thing is, like, Recall is, like, the Hail Mary in the Protoss arsenal. Like, if you're relying on a Recall to win, you're probably still going to lose that game. Arbiters, if you aren't, like, keeping Arbiters with the army to stasis and force out, scans, Arbiters are a really bad choice, just because Recalls can be countered fairly easily, and it is, like, just almost, I don't want to say, like, it's 50-50 on if the Recall actually works or not, but it gets very close to those kinds of odds. So at lower levels, carriers are just much more. These Vultures do negative damage to buildings, but you know what? If given enough time, they will still kill a Nexus. Huh. Okay. Here comes the next wave. We have 2 shuttles full of Dark Templar. There are, however, missile turrets pretty much everywhere, so they aren't actually going to be very useful. They might be able to kill some supply depots. Actually, you know what? At this point, killing supply depots is kind of worth it because, like, the Terran is, like, kind of, no way. No! Oh, that's just bad, man. That's not good. So, yeah, like, I just think there's actually no way for Protoss to win at this point. They're mined out of 3 bases. They only have 1 mining base left. Terran is maxed out. Terran has a supply lead. Yeah, no, it's, it really is just like a situation where if Programmer did anything other than what they actually did, this game would have been in the bag. It's just that they kept being in Protoss, Ape, A-move, make Zealot, make Dragoon, run into tank line mode, and it just that just doesn't work. It never works, and like I said, I feel like I called it back when they took that bad trade and they made a round of Zealots. It's like, yep, that is, it's like at that moment it felt like, yeah, Programmer is going to lose this game because they're tilted into attacking their opponent. It's a feeling like they have to win the game when they didn't have to win the game at that moment. So yeah, I don't think there's a way for Terran to lose this game. They have a huge tank army. They can make Goliaths behind this. They have a huge bank, which of course, now that I'm saying this, JT isn't macroing, and like, he's not building Goliaths, which is like what he needs to supplement his tanks at this point. He's just macroing and getting up there. Programmer taking the hidden base. This is another sign of like you're tilted and you're just throwing shit at the wall to see what sticks. Alright, Zealot's getting on top of the tanks here, but again, the tanks are just real good. Siege mode, this backline here, big so the Terran does clean this army up. Scan goes down, just barely, I guess, out. Nope, the Dark Temple is caught. So Terran will clean this up. They are taking very inefficient trades to do so. Zealots did get on a lot of the tanks, but yeah. We have the, I mean, listen, for all the people in chat saying carriers, 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 it's here. There's no mine, like, this is the only mining base. So, like, I just don't think, carriers are very expensive, and now that these tanks are siege, they'll kill these Dragoons here. Especially with the mines being laid, they'll pop up and take out those 2 Dragoons, and yeah, like, we're down to 88 to 104. Again, Terran having a supply lead is never good. Also, Terran has a bank. It's just, yeah. To quote the late General Edmund Duke, now that's what I call sloppy. Where did you... Yeah. I mean, at this point, well, and I say, the thing is, Programmer is about to have another 2 bases that JT just doesn't know about. So, like, we might be here for another 20 minutes because this base exists, right? And JT isn't macroing. He has the supply, he just isn't building units, which is the position that Programmer was in. Well, I guess Programmer has been building units consistently, they just kept running them into their enemy. And like, the tank count is very spread out, right? And again, like, if these Arbiters had stasis, because I don't think stasis has been researched, but if those Arbiters had stasis, there's like clumps you can stasis and try to like stasis what's down here and come up around this side. You can do a lot of things with Arbiters, but you have to like execute it well, right? Big, so we just have scans going down. JtotheT is trying to figure out what their opponent is doing. Meanwhile, we have a massive probe pool down to these bottom 2 bases. And these 2 bases live. There's a chance Programmer stays into the game because, again, JtotheT has been playing extremely passively. Like, their army has been able to go and kill the Protoss for like 5 minutes now, but they've just been playing careful. They've been macroing on their bases. Well, I would say they've been macroing on their bases, but, you know, they're not. Wow. I would say they're macroing, but, so it is just like, what's the play here, right? That was a fight, if I'd ever seen one, with invisible Dragoons. Nexus in the middle of the map, sure, why not? Yeah, Programmer is mining back on 2 mining bases. They're now on even with the Terran again. Jesus. Please, just someone. Terran has 50 more supply than Protoss. As a reminder, Terran is not supposed to have more supply than Protoss. A Terran maxed out army decimates a Protoss maxed out army. So a Terran that has more supply than a Protoss can just run the Protoss over. Of course, we're not seeing this happen, because this specific game was played to torture me. Yeah, like, so the thing is, right, Programmer has bought themselves back into the game because JT hasn't noticed these bases exist, right? So, like, 3 macro rounds from their gateways, and they can kind of get back even in supply. The issue is, nothing is being built. At least JT, it's like okay, I've realized what's happened. I just realized what happened. In this game was played, our players were sitting next to each other, and one of them was holding a stick, and the stick said macro. And the other player was holding a stick, and the stick said micro. And the only thing the players could do is pass the sticks between each other to take turns doing one or the other. Because look, oh, Programmer's building units now. Well, that means it's JT's time to attack. I bet as soon as like these 10 zealots build, JT is gonna sit here with their army and build their units. But thankfully, we get a GG. Oh god, and that is gonna be the end of the game. JT, I assume, it was the person who wins the game. Programmer left the game. It was a game, all right. Let's go to game 3 on NeoSylphid for this PVT. Oh god. Where's my splash screen? Okay. Let's just... Alright, in the 12 o'clock position on NeoSylphid as the Black Protoss, we have Programmer, who won with the cheese in game 1, played a really good macro game where they forgot to macro halfway through in game 2. And so we're gonna see which... It's like the meme where it's like, inside you there are 2 wolves, and it's either you build a gateway on 8, or you build 5 nexuses. And we'll see which wolf Programmer is in this game. Against their opponent, oh god, the pylon is not built in the main, so we'll see if our Terran opponent JtotheT as the purple Terran, who just wants to have a good, clean TVP. They don't want to take fights. They get into this. They play StarCraft to have fun, to you know, play SimCity, right? This is a city builder game to JtotheT. The fact that there's a weird alien man trying to kill them, it takes away from the fact they just want to sit, build their bases, and maybe their opponent like leaves the game because their opponent is having fun doing the same thing. JtotheT setting up their pylon. This is not a anti-zealot wall, so this is definitely in programmer's favor. Again, the probe threatens the gas steal, but it is a 2-gate actually, so programmer is going to be going for the full cheese. Wow, it's a full cheese that's not going to work because JtotheT sees what's happening. And wow, okay, so programmer, this is a really smart play. Cancels the second gateway, builds the Nexus instead. That's insanely smart. He scouts that's like, oh, wall, I can't beat that with a 2-gate. There we go. Terran didn't even scout. Oh, the Terran. JT knew. He knew what was going on. So SCV finally moving out the scout. Probe is still in the Terran main. Ugh. Yeah. We are looking at a game here. SCV is going to get in the scout. He does see the Nexus nearly finish. Sees the probe count as probes shift over to gas, and the Cybernex course halfway done. So yeah, I mean, honestly, I think there's a chance. So with the probe death here, 3 SCVs on gas, it looks like we are actually doing the 2-fac here, and it is a 2-fac where our Protoss player is going for, like, you know, the tech. They're going for their faster Nexus. And like they won't be able to see it coming, right? Oh, they actually pull a lot of probes to scare that SCV away. So we'll see if the Protoss gets their second gateway, and if they don't, it is probably going to be a win for JtotheT as they get their second. Well, nope, never mind. They're banking a lot of gas. Where is this? Where's your money going, JT? Why did you have 3 on gas? I moved them off just in time. Someone's predicting 2-port Wraith. Who knows? And it is not going to be a 2-fac. It is actually just going to be a siege expand. So let's get ready for another 30-minute match here on Neosylphid versus me. It's not programmer versus JtotheT. It is programmer and JtotheT versus me and my sanity. Looks like a Citadel of Adun is on the way. So I assume we are going to be seeing some capey boys coming out to kill their opponent, and no academy or what's the other thing that they need? It's engineering bay. So saying the T will die to DTs, honestly, I'm not going to rule that out as an option. I'm not sure the exact timing, but I feel like to defend DTs properly, you need the engineering bay or the academy by now. Oh no, the SCV isn't good. Wait, oh gosh. No way, no way, no way. No response. Second factory, not an eBay. Programmer floating like infinite resources, but 1 DT is all it takes if there's no detection. I think if that DT rallies straight over to the Terran main. Okay, the Academy has started, and as has Spider Mines. So the window of opportunity for the Dark Templar is closing. If the Academy finishes, the Comsat stations can also come out. I think he's waiting. I don't. Oh, is he going to get a dropship? Bruh. Just send the DT over. See if he has the detection first. No way, he is getting a dropship. What is this build? Just send the first DT. If you're building more, you can drop the 3 later. Okay, but the Academy is finished, so we still need the Comsat stations from the command centers. Okay, dropship out. Ready to pick up the DTs. Dropping them up here. Comsat station is not being built anywhere. Oh my god. Are you shitting me? Okay, both Comsat stations underway. Now the important thing is that Comsat stations will have 50 energy as soon as they finish. So, god, they build so fast. So they absolutely will be able to defend the DTs unless JtotheT spends all of his scans to scout his opponent. Because the dropship is waiting. No engineering base still. Dragoons coming to barrel at the front. Comsat stations finish. And it really is going to be if we see the scans or not before the DTs come out. Now there are 5 tanks, 6 tanks here, so these Dragoons will not be able to do much. It looks like Programmer is actually going to be suiciding the goons in. But the DT drop will probably hit as the Dragoons try to hit the front to pull JT to 2 places. And now here come the DTs. Scans go down in the main, but he has the vultures to try and deal with them. But the DTs take out the scanner sweep, and it was the scans in the main that had the scan left. Oh no, he used the natural scanner sweep. The main one was the one that had the extra sweep. But we have vultures that should have spider bites, but why? So the scan does finally go down, but the DTs are picked up and there's nothing here to bully the shuttle away. They just have to wait for the scan to be done, and now JtotheT has to wait nearly a whole minute. He's just gonna fly over to the siege tanks here. Oh, if they target down the Comsat. Oh, and the DTs are messing up the oh, that's game. That's just game. There's no way, right? Even if the engine bay... Oh my god. Dude, genius play here. Like, pulling out the engine bay, which could lift as soon as it dies. But it dies before it's able to make any missile turrets. No missile turrets were started. I mean, DTs have full reign over the tanks. Every siege tank falls. Some DTs do get killed by the spider mine, but one will kill the bunker while one takes out the marines, and now the dragoon reinforcements will take this out. Great play here from Programmer. Like, honestly, yeah, like, there is a thing where JtotheT just did not prepare for DTs correctly, but also, like, Programmer, once he got in, he was able to play around what JT did have. He picked DTs up when the tanks were hitting them during the scans. He avoided the spider mines, picked out the targets that needed to be hit, such as killing the academy, focusing firing the engineering bay. So really, like, great play there from Programmer in actually using the DTs and abusing that opening that JT like left open. Because honestly, I think that it was a mistake to not get the engineering bay at like the same time that he got the what's it called? I've died because of DT drop damage though. Yeah, I think that if he got the engineering bay at the same time he got the academy, and just built one missile turret in his main, one missile turret in his natural, this would have been a very different game. But that means that Programmer, as our Protoss programmer, otherwise known as Vint on the on our leaderboard here, is going to take it 2-1, putting up another win for 2Fact2 Furious, and that leaves Zmaan versus Quirky with a, let's check what is our race matchup, in a PVZ, our first PVZ of the match. Whoever wins this match takes it for their team for their tier of week 4. So let's go ahead and hop right into the game, switch our stream over, and we will see who actually is going to bring home the tier victory for their team. In the bottom right, as our red Protoss player, we have Quirky Casts as our Protoss. And in the bottom left, as our purple Zerg player, we have Zmaan Ryan, sending that Overlord immediately out to scout. Yeah, nothing more to say. So, he wants to have some early game StarCraft trivia. Let's see. What is a good? I should probably make a list and write this down so that I have something to go to. Also, we are going to see a basic sort of standard wall opening from Quirky Cast. Love to see it. Okay. You can still siege tanks under buildings. Here is a trivia question that I can think of. In the StarCraft 1, like the original Terran campaign, I'm gonna think of something while I'm saying it. In the StarCraft 1 original, like the original StarCraft 1 Terran campaign, actually no, in general, in StarCraft 1, in the campaigns, you're often given hero units to help fight that you can use. So here's the trivia: yes or no? Do those hero units, Lamau, do those hero units take up supply? So yeah, those heroes units, the Hunter Killer, the Jim Raynor, Sarah Kerrigan, Phoenix, do they take up supply? We have 2 no's. I'm gonna be real honest, I don't remember. So we'll check, but I think the answer is that they do. Yes, we have a split court decision. Lightsworn Phoenix with the nose, so CS with the yes they do. So I do believe the answer is that they do in fact take up supply. Ooh, scouting probe dies, you hate to see it, but we do have our defenses set up. 2 photon cannons will keep Quirky Cast safe from the Zerg aggression. Someone could look it up so that I don't have to check after the cast is actually done. I'm assuming, I believe it is yes. So CS wins that trivia question. Seems like no? Okay then, I am incorrect. Trivia time without it. Listen, really, the trivia was the friends we made along the way. Okay, well, Lightstorm checking in. Both Rainers are no. Kerrigan is no. Again, there's not much to commentate here. We have basic, really standard stuff. The Cybercore on the way for the Protoss. The Zerg getting up into Hydratech, preparing for, I will assume is going to be a 2, or a, you know, a 2-base, 3-hatch Hydra bust. Okay, here we can talk about maybe the Zerg ones take supply, but I don't recall that being the way in Zerg Mission 2. You know what, then, Lightstorm, I'm going to defer to your answer that Hurians don't take up supply, but also, I also want to say that if you're a Tier 3 Zerg, and you're trying to figure out how to best play your build, and you're like, oh, I'm playing a Protoss, what should I do in my match? Just Hydra Bust. Just practice Hydra Busts all week, and it is like one of the builds that you can just kind of cheat wins out with if the Protoss doesn't respond to it well. So yeah. Now, Quirky cast is going to start moving across the map with their Zealots, but with the Hydras reinforcing these Zerglings, these Zealots actually can fight these Hydras, never mind. Zealots are real good. Back at home, there's nothing here to defend. And it looks like there's nothing in production either, so 4 manlots can kind of kill a lot of Zerg. But not this much Zerg. Alright, we have our Stargate up. Corsairs on the way. Templar Archive started. Also, as another thing, once you start your... So the basic build order for being able to get your tech up in time, this is what I have been taught, is that you build your Stargate, then you build your Citadel, and as soon as you start your Citadel, that is when you build like 3 extra gateways in your main. The photon cannon setup here is a great timing, however... they will take... It's like how sunken colonies take no time to build when you're under pressure. Photon cannons take forever to build when you're under attack. It's one of the quirks, and so Zmaan Ryan is actually just going to dive here, and the Hydras are going to be able to pick off the 2 cannons that are finished. Zerglings go on top of the cannons as well, and as the cannons finish up, they will fall, and I mean, this actually should be game. All the probes here in the natural will get cleaned up. This wall will die, and we can see Hydralisks reinforce to take care of this. Corsair runs home to save it, and Quirky cast GG's leaves the game, and that is going to be a win for Zmaan Ryan, with putting 1 point up on the board. into our next game, of course, on Eclipse. And I mean, again, I cannot stress enough, if you are in Tier 3 and your matchup is Zerg versus Protoss, just practice Hydra Busts. It's the only build you need to practice. Just keep doing it, and you'll get, like Lightswarm says in the chat, it helps with macro, and it also helps, like, it's just a really good build. It's an insane build. It's so hard for Protoss to defend that, which is why, if you're in Tier 3 and you get the matchup of PVZ, go to like a Tier 2 or higher Zerg in your tier, or like go to one of your Protoss coaches and say, hey, I just need to drill defending Hydra Busts. We can kind of worry about what the mid to late game is, but the priority at like Tier 3, when you're playing against Zerg, is just, how do I know when a Hydra Bust is coming, and how do I defend a Hydra Bust? Lightswarm saying this season very few people are going 9-7-3. Those people are wrong. Like, Hydra Bust is like the punishment that Protoss, like, it's the penance that Protoss players have to take for being able to play PvT. Like, PvT is like, you get all these fun tools, Protoss can do basically whatever, it's really great, it's fun, you have a great time, and then, like, in your penance for that, the punishment that you have to endure is you have to deal with Hydra Busts. Anyways, let's reintroduce our players. QuirkyCast as our bottom right red Protoss player. They are they're down a game, but they're looking to get us to a 1-1 tie. Zmaan Ryan in the top right is our brown Zerg, up a game on match point, looking to, you know, even things up. Trying to take a third base, but unfortunately they are denied, and they actually have to get their second hatchery in their main. Which is very interesting. You don't see this a lot. So I think this pylon is going to be... Nope, it is canceled. So it is not allowed to finish. When you go in base 12 hatch, like this, you have to like commit to a Zergling rush, right? Luckily, back at home, QuirkyCast, it looks like they're going to be getting a Nexus before Cannon, which I think they can afford to do because the spawning pool was so delayed. Nope, they are actually getting a gateway. This is not a great wall. In fact, I don't think this is any type of wall. And if Zmaan Ryan actually does go in base 12 hatch, Zergling, I think QuirkyCast die. Well, QuirkyCast can throw up 2 cannons, and they should be safe from the Zergling flood. But yeah, not a great wall. I think 2 photon cannons will maybe work. Nope. Okay, well, we have our third hatch going down. So we might just have a... we might just have another Hydra Bust attempted. First cannon. Yeah, only 2 Zerglings are being sent across to... put pressure, and so when you only build 2 Zerglings as a Zerg, it's more to keep the Protoss honest, you know, make sure. Yeah, that's kind of rough. The cannon is built on the outside of the wall. That's actually really bad. Yeah, I mean, if Zmaan Ryan does the Hydra Bust again, this is like game almost. Zealot does move across the map to put some pressure on, so it's gonna force maybe, I think, 3 or 4 more Zerglings, 3 or more Zergling pairs, and yeah. Zealot's just getting some scouts off. He will come up here and he will see the Hydra Den on the way. And so in response, I think Quirky, their cyber is just so delayed. They need to throw up like 5 more photon cannons right now to live. Shit, this might just be enough Zerglings, honestly. They can surround this cannon, kill it, surround this cannon, kill it. Maybe, actually. 3 Zealots should be able to hold this. But really, it is the Hydra follow-up that is going to... I mean, yeah, like, Quirky doesn't have the forces necessary, like, the defenses necessary to hold off a Hydra bust. The Sim City's kind of like, yeah, it's really, it feels bad to call it, so it feels bad to say it right now, because the Hydras, like, haven't even finished yet. But the Hydras are on the way. We have 4 Hydralists. They have range upgraded. Speed will be next, so also, for the Zerg tier 3s, speed, then range. That way you can get the Hydras over here, and then range can finish, and they can start the attack. So it's speed, range. For all the Protosses, when you're playing PvT, it's stasis, recall. For all the Zergs who are doing Hydra Bust, it is speed, range. But, yeah, we see the extra photon cannons being laid down, but again, like, because of how this wall looks, the cannons in the back here aren't helping, like, these 2 cannons up here as much. And because the tech is so delayed, there's really not a lot that, I don't know, man. Like, this is just bad. Quirky got the second simulator way too fast. This is just a rough game. This is just a rough game from our Protoss player. Sometimes you just have a bad day, a bad match, and unfortunately, sometimes those matches get cast. And that is what we're seeing here. Zmaan is actually retreating their Overlord, so if Quirky Cast went into DTs, he would be able to defend the Hydras just because the Overlord is already moving all the way back across the map. So, just an interesting thing to point out. Again, these Hydras are still enough to just bust the wall down, and that's what they're going to do. The Zealots can get on top of them, and they are doing a great job taking for the Photon Cannons. Now again, the Hydras also back up. They back up. But then they dive back in. So this is the dance that Zerg has to play, right? Because if they let the Zealots tank for the Photon Cannons, and the Photon Cannons can get the fire on them, the Zealots, there will be enough damage put on the Hydralists for the Hydras to not be able to break it. So the Hydras have to come forward, shoot the cannons, and then as soon as the Zealots come, or shoot the Zealots or shoot whatever, and then when the Zealots actually get on top of the Hydras back off, start pelting the Zealots, the Zealots back off, and you do that dance for a while until, like, the Protoss, like we see here, is trying to get their Templar Archives up, get their Storm, get their High Templars. Now again, we have Hydras reinforcing, we have that constant production back at home, that's a huge Hydralisk reinforcement, and see, Quirky Cast is going to try to run out and try to like, ambush the Hydras and be like, bet you won't expect this! But the reason that Zmaan wouldn't expect it is because it's really dumb. And now with only 2 Zealots back at home to defend, Zmaan can now start getting a lot more aggressive with this wall with only 4 cannons. Again, the Zealots try to come out, but they're just, like, they aren't doing what the Zealots are for, which is tanking for the cannons. The Hydras finally do thin the Zealot numbers out, get on top of the cannons, get on top of the wall, and, you know, Storm is barely over halfway finished, and that is going to be game. And Zmaan Ryan, again, this is why you do Hydra Bust. This is why if you're playing ZVP, especially at Tier 3, just practice Hydra Bust. If you're playing PvZ, practice defending Hydra Busts. Because so many games at this level look like this. It's crazy. But, yeah, GG's to both our players. Zmaan Ryan played really well. They executed the bust extremely well. And Quirky Cast, They had a lot of fun little moves, but it is just like okay, it is like very clearly what, like, you know that they need to practice what their opponent was doing. But that is going to be a 2-0 for Zmaan, and that means at the end of the day, 2-Fact, 2 Furious, oh, not 2 to 22 to 0, 2-Fact, 2 Furious is going to take the is going to take their Tier 3 matches. And with that, we're done for the day. That's our cast. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Again, we'll be back. We'll probably be doing this next weekend as well for week 5. So that, stay tuned. That'll be a lot of fun. Also, be sure to go join the CPL Discord if you have not already. I can, I have it pulled up. I can go ahead and post the link right now. So if you've stuck around and this seems like something that's really fun that you want to try to join in, let me go ahead and I think send a server invite link. So go ahead, use that server invite link. It's a great opportunity to learn to play StarCraft, to understand this game better. It's to even start playing StarCraft. We have several players who literally started playing StarCraft during the preseason week, and they have gone from, like, you could very obviously tell, to they are now, like, kind of playing almost at, like, the level that we have Tier 3 players who played the game casually are at. So again, it's a lot of fun. Definitely check it out. If you aren't following my Twitch channel, please drop a follow. We appreciate it. It's great. Love doing these casts. And again, check out the official Coach-Pupil League Twitch channel as well. And with that, we are going to find a StarCraft channel to raid and send you guys over to it. And you can stick around if you want to see some more StarCraft. Some more StarCraft being played. Let me find the browse feature here. Let's see what players are up. Or if you have any recommendations in chat. Oh, okay, hold on. So the non-Brood War, they
some storms.
Oh, okay. We're gonna go raid them. Non-Brood War is one of the, like, Brood War clans, and they do frequently, like, in-house team leagues, which is another great way to learn how to play, to get used to playing StarCraft competitively. And all right, there we go. Yep. And yeah, they're a great opportunity. They're open join if anybody's interested in that. But you can hop over there and check out their cast of, I guess, one of their team leagues. And with that, we're done. Go watch that.